It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal.
All right, good morning on this Monday, June 10th, 2013. Yes, the NSA spy scandal, it's all true. They are listening to your phone calls. They are reading your emails. They are getting your logins, your passwords, your text chats, your files, everything you store in the online cloud is being scanned. It's all true. All the denials are complete lies. They've all been caught, the tech companies, caught in their lies by the slides of the PRISM program released now by Edward Snowden, who has just stepped forward yesterday to claim responsibility for leaking these slides to The Guardian and The Washington Post. And this is the subject of our show today. We're going to have three guests on today. This is the Alex Jones Show. We're going to have Jim Marrs joining in with some historical analysis and context of this outrageous spy program. We're also going to have John Rappoport on in the second hour. He's going to be joining us to give us some more information about Snowden himself and the nature of the spy program and what else they might be watching and listening to that hasn't yet been reported. And in the third hour, we've got Texas Representative Steve Stockman on. He has been outraged by these confirmed reports of the NSA spying program, and he's been putting out some hilarious tweets calling out the Obama administration, which, if you recall, promised in 2007 that it was going to be the administration of transparency. Yeah, we weren't going to have government secrets anymore. The government was going to answer to the people. Well, guess what? That was all a big lie, too. It's just lies within lies within lies. Now, if you're not familiar with this subject yet, let me just break it down for you very quickly. Ed Snowden, a 29-year-old senior intelligence analyst, a computer, you might call him a geek, but a genius geek who worked for the CIA, and then he worked for a contractor that was providing services to the NSA. He leaked details of the program to The Guardian and did an interview with Glenn Greenwald, an actual journalist. Yes, they still exist, and he's one of them, apparently. And The Guardian published this, and so did The Washington Post over the last few days. And then yesterday, a video was distributed by The Guardian that is an interview between Glenn Greenwald and Ed Snowden, the whistleblower, that gave all the details. Fascinating, amazing details. Check out these quotes of what you heard in the video, which describes, quote, turnkey tyranny. He says, quote, we collect more digital communications from America than we do from the Russians. He says, any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector, anywhere. I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president. These are the words of Edward Snowden, the whistleblower who is now hiding out in Hong Kong and knows that they're going to try to kill him. He is reportedly seeking asylum in Iceland, and we do have some breaking news for you on that coming up right after this break, where Iceland appears to be welcoming him to seek political asylum there. There's an article about that on Infowars.com right now by Kurt Nimmo, so check that out. But that's the focus of today's show, everything about the NSA spy grid. We're going to break it down for you of what they're scanning, what they're snooping into. And speaking of Snoop, we got to get to some of Leno's quotes about the Obama administration. He says, yeah, Snoop is back in the news, not Snoop Dogg, Snoop Obama. Leno's had some good lines lately. He said, hey, forget about Big Brother watching you. Now we actually have a brother watching you. That's Leno's quote. Some very funny but poignant comedy from Leno on that. We've got other quotes coming up Great guests straight ahead, plus more analysis and breakdown of this exploding spy scandal from the NSA that exposes the lies and the deceptions of big government. This is the Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back with all that and much more. So stay with us. A lot straight ahead. All right, welcome back. This is the Alex Jones Show on Monday, June 10th, 2013. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex, who is traveling right now. He's actually on an airplane, arriving in a few hours here in the United States, back from the Bilderberg Conference in the UK. Lots of excitement there. Of course, lots of coverage of that over the past few days and all of last week here at InfoWars Studios. But now we're covering the NSA spy scandal, the explosive revelations that have been emerging now throughout even the mainstream media, The Guardian, The Washington Post, and now hundreds, if not thousands, of mainstream media sources covering this explosive news, which revealed the top secret slides, the slideshow that revealed the government is spying on everything you do, your phone calls, your emails, your login passwords, your online storage files, your photos, your social media networking posts. Everything is being spied on routinely, wholesale copied, archived, data mined, relationally looked at. I don't know the right word for it. The intelligence community is basically looking at your data every way they can to get as much information out of it so that they can nail you. They can nail you for things that are otherwise innocent. And I want to get your comments on this because there's a lot of outrage out there. I want to get callers today. I haven't had many callers in the last couple of times that I've hosted. So call in, 800-259-9231. We'd like to get you on the show to hear your comments. We're going to move quickly between calls, so have a short comment ready, please. 800-259-9231. And we'll start taking your calls here in just a few minutes. Also coming up today on the show, we've got great guests lined up for you. Author and researcher Jim Marrs will be joining us at the bottom of this hour. And in the next hour, we've got John Rappoport with additional analysis of just how damaging this is to the international surveillance spy community. Damaging them, but freedom for us, because you see, it's exposing the lies and the hypocrisy of government, where Obama claimed it was all going to be fully transparent. We're not going to keep any secrets from you. We're going to be honest with you. We're going to work to protect your interests and your rights, blah, blah, blah. All lies, all coming out now. So many scandals. Another day, another scandal in the White House. In fact, there's even a scandal about the State Department that has broken today. It's up on drudgereport.com right now if you want to check that out. We're not even going to cover that today because we're so focused on last week's scandals and the weekend scandals and the NSA spying scandal. Another day, another scandal. It's the IRS, it's the Department of Justice, it's the EPA, it's the NSA. It's like another day, another piece of the alphabet gets exposed as being total criminal, lying, corrupt outfit. It's unbelievable. Here are some things that you need to know, and then we're going to go to your phone calls, which are already coming in. We're going to go to you just in a minute there, Taylor and Houston and others. The big lies. Here are the big lies about all this that you need to know. Number one, the government claimed it wasn't listening to your phone calls. Those are Obama's words. We're not listening to your phone calls, or he said no one is listening to your phone calls. They are listening to your phone calls. They're recording all of your phone calls. They're parsing them with actual recognition software that can listen to the words and create a text transcript and then data mine the text transcript. That's what they're doing. The second big lie, the tech companies came out. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Yahoo Mail, AOL, Skype, and others. They all came out and said, no, the government doesn't have direct access to our servers. That's not true. That's a big lie. Well, they're parsing words. They're using lawyer speak. It turns out, even if the government didn't have direct access to the servers, they have side door access. Maybe not back door, but side door access. All those companies push the data over to out a side door, and then the government picks it up from there. But then, Sunday, another top secret slide was released by The Guardian, which showed directly that, in fact, the government has direct server access. It's right there in the slide. It says we have direct server access to Google, Apple, Yahoo, and others. They have it. It's there. It's confirmed from the slide. So These companies are required by law to lie to you. All these tech companies, they have to lie to you or they will go to jail because that's part of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. If they don't lie, they go to jail. So, of course, they're lying to you. Everybody is lying to you, okay? Obama has been lying to you. Feinstein and the Intelligence Committee lying to you. The tech companies lying to you while they read your emails. And the NSA lying to you. They're all lying to you. And by now, more and more people are finally waking up and figuring that out. And finally, the last big lie before we go to the phone calls, Obama has been defending all of this astoundingly because he's the guy who said we were going to have full transparency. And then all this happens under his watch, and he didn't shut it down. He didn't eliminate these programs. He carried on the Bush-era Patriot Act surveillance regime and made it worse. Obama is worse than Bush on spying on Americans. But he says, quote, I think we've struck the right balance. The right balance, Obama says. What balance is that? Where the government spies on everything that we do, but if we go out and videotape a police officer on a public street, we go to jail and get prosecuted for wiretapping? But the government can wiretap us 24/7 in complete violation of the Fourth Amendment? Without even a warrant, without even any suspicion of you, they can track everything you do online? That's a balance? Obama, you're a sociopath. You're insane. That's not balance. Balance would be the government tracks only people that they know have a reason to be tracked. They get a warrant. They get a specific person. They get a name. This person, they say, might be a criminal, might be a terrorist. They get a warrant. I don't have any problem with that. That's perfectly okay with me. You get a warrant, you can track them. But to wholesale track everybody, even innocent people, and then call it a balance? Obama, you're insane. You're a sociopath, all right? That's absolute insanity. Let's go to the calls and get some other public opinion on this. Taylor from Houston, thank you for calling in. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, you know, Mike, they called us crazy. You know, it's such a flip-flop, you know, that now we're the ones that, you know, that are on the attack, and they're the ones that are on the defensive. And, you know, what just astounds me is the audacity of these people to look at somebody sitting right across them in a courtroom or, you know, in a transcripted, you know, meeting and sit there and pull out documents and show them, like, you know, here's the evidence. This is what you're doing. And they can just look right back at them and go, no, they're not.
Right. Total denial. And you're absolutely right. We, the alternative media, the info warriors, we have been right all along. Think about that. How far back has Alex been warning people about this exact scenario? He said the government's reading your emails, and they said he was crazy. Your thoughts?
I mean, that's exactly right. And I'm tired of being the one that's called crazy. If I was the one sitting up there across from the courtroom with those people, I would slam my hand down on that desk and say, no, you're the ones that are lying to us. I'm tired of listening to your crap. Absolutely.
Good call, Taylor. Thank you for calling in. Let's go to D.C. in West Virginia. I guess that's the name, D.C. You're on the air on the Alex Jones Show. Go ahead.
Mike Adams, the man, what's going on? I know they're going to try to get as many calls as possible, so I'll be quick. I just want to say I went to last year's Go-to-Bird, and as an American, I'm a little disappointed now to see the great protesters over there in the UK. When I saw the streams, it looked like they had a good couple thousand people. We had maybe a couple hundred, but that's okay. I'm glad people are waking up. And real quick, one day, I'm really hoping that you could do, it's not a whole show, maybe a YouTube or something, on the vaccinations. Because I've got a little baby. We have not given him the Hep B yet because I don't believe in the Hep B. And then he's got his 10 months coming up soon. So I'm really, really, really trying to wake his mother up.
Well, D.C., good for you. You sound like a very compassionate, concerned, and responsible parent who wants to learn more about vaccines. We will cover that on future shows. I will cover that in more detail on future shows. Today, we're focusing on the NSA, the explosive spy scandal. I'm sure you understand that. But we will continue to cover vaccines because the truth has to come out on all these issues. GMOs, vaccines, radiation, the chemtrails, you name it. And it's all going to come out. It's coming out now. So thank you for your comments, DC. We'll keep that in mind as we plan future shows. Let's go to JB in Alabama. Go ahead, JB. You're on the air on the Alex Jones Show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Mike. Really, I want to ask the question because I see a great business opportunity here. Where is the company that's going to come in and set up a system with encrypted everything and not make a key?
You're absolutely right.
People want information. They hand them the paper with all this just garbled gunk on it, and they say, there you go.
There is a billion-dollar opportunity here for a company to set that up. You're exactly right. Very, very insightful. We need a social media network that guarantees it doesn't share information with the government. We need an online email system that guarantees that. Now, there may be these systems that exist. I've actually tried to look into some of them. The things I found so far are a little clunky or a little difficult to use, so somebody needs to make an easy-to-use, streamlined system, and it would be a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Like the hush mail of social networking, something like that. Very good point, JB. Thank you for your call. Let's go on to whistleblower number 9 in Texas. I guess we skipped 1 through 8, but let's go to whistleblower number 9. Thank you for your call.
Thanks, Mike. Briefly, I've been banned from City Hall and twice now banned from local commissioner's court.
Yeah, is this Reefer Seed?
You got it.
Yeah, I recognize your voice. I know, man, they're shutting you out of everything. What's going on?
Well, they banned me from the local commissioner's court, and this time for 16 weeks. Because I happened to object to his preliminary question. It was, belittling and harassing me. He said, I was sitting there literally on stage for a half hour taking notes, and he said, okay, Miss Reeferseed, you got something relevant to say?
Yeah, I know. They hate the fact that you want to actually express your First Amendment rights there at City Hall. It's unbelievable. Well, I wonder what they think now that all this is coming out, that basically everything that you and others in the alternative media have been saying, it's all true. So maybe they should listen up. We should banish them from City Hall. We should banish them. Yeah, exactly.
And my message is don't give up. Keep talking truth to these criminals. Nixon's IRS crimes were minor.
That's right, Reefer Seed. Thank you for your call. More power to you, man. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This is The Alex Jones Show. All right, we're continuing. This is The Alex Jones Show. Thank you for joining us. We're covering the explosive NSA spy scandal. It's been breaking in the news globally over the last, roughly 36 hours or so, especially since the whistleblower, Ed Snowden, stepped forward and claimed responsibility for breaking that information to The Guardian and The Washington Post. Now, Snowden, it turns out, is a Ron Paul supporter. See, this is the Ron Paul revolution continuing. Got to thank Ron Paul for inspiring people to recognize when terrible government abuses are taking place right under their nose. And Snowden did see what was happening, and he sounded the alarm at great risk to himself. But let's go to his actual words as he describes what he saw happening as a senior intelligence analyst working essentially for the NSA. This is an interview conducted by Glenn Greenwald for The Guardian. Let's hear what Snowden has to say.
To do so. Any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector anywhere. Where those communications will be picked up depends on the range of the sensor networks and the authorities that that analyst is empowered with. Not all analysts have the ability to target everything, but I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
One of the
all right, so that's the key section right there, that he had the authority to wiretap a federal judge or you or anyone, even the president. You see, the power of the system. This is not about catching terrorists. This is a system that can be used to get dirt on anyone in America because everybody's got secrets. So you can get dirt on a congressman, you can get dirt on a senator, you can get dirt on a CEO. You can find something that somebody is embarrassed about. Some chat, some emails, some files, some voicemail, some phone call. And you can use it against them in a blackmail operation where the NSA would essentially control all the power in the country, underground power, not the overt democracy, but covert power through blackmail and influence. So that's a very big deal, and it's a very dangerous situation to have any agency with that much power, almost omniscience, the power of God to listen and watch what you do, but not the ethics of God. The power of God, but the ethics of Satan, basically, is what the NSA is. So let's continue with phone calls. Let's go to Aaron in Nevada. Aaron, you're on the air. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, buddy, it's not only the government.
just happened up here. We got this string of grocery stores called Raley's. What happened is that they had their database hacked at the corporate level. And what happens is that when you're a customer and you swipe your debit card, your ATM card, your credit card, all of that information is stored on the grocery stores, in this case, database.
Right.
And they know this, so the hackers go in and they steal all of that information. How I found out about it was I got a call from the credit card company, which I use to buy my groceries, and they told me, yeah, this is what happened. They told me all the details, and they said, we're going to have to send you out some new cards. They haven't tried to use your number and account information yet, but they could.
Well, you're exactly right, Aaron. That's a good point. But there have been many, many cases of corporations having their databases hacked and credit cards stolen. That you're right about that, and that is one thing that's bad. But what we're dealing with this NSA spy scandal is companies that voluntarily turn over your details to the federal government without revealing it to their customers. So that's a violation of federal law. It's a violation of Constitution. It's also a violation of their terms of service agreements with their own users. But thank you for your call. I'm glad you brought that up. Basically, your credit card information is not safe anywhere. Let's take another call. Habu in Wisconsin. Habu, you are on the air on the Alex Jones Show. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Good to talk to you. Just three very quick points. One, President Obama's remarks on Friday in response to this whole revelation were nothing short of a collection of sophistries and lies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Two, this is a seminal moment for American people. While we were aware of this kind of spying, we didn't realize the breadth and depth and the extent and thoroughness of this. This is almost dystopian completely. So it's a time for Americans to rally around the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It isn't a Republican or Democrat matter. And lastly, this is a question I haven't heard answered or even brought up. For the longest time, we were told about this program, saying, well, it goes through the courts and all that, and we were kind of made to feel good about it. But I mean, one has to wonder, how can a court authorize for phone companies to
illegal acts? Yeah, exactly.
For millions.
Really good points, Habu. We got to go to break, but I thank you for your call. Really good points, very coherent arguments there. We must rally to restore the Republic, and Rand Paul is actually introducing a bill to restore the Fourth Amendment. So we'll talk about that and play that video from Rand Paul later. Stay with us. You are The Resistance, and this is InfoWars, broadcasting live from the Austin studios. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex Jones today, who is on an airplane, actually getting back to the United States after protesting Bilderberg. And callers, please stay on the line. We are going to go ahead and take some of your calls as Jim Marrs joins us. I'd like to direct some of your questions to Jim. Now, Jim Marrs is a legendary researcher, author, writer, a true, you might call him an old school journalist, in the fact that, he checks his facts. Real journalism. He doesn't just parrot whatever press release is handed to him by the White House. He actually checks his facts. He's got a number of fantastic books out there, including his most recent one, Our Occulted History. And what the subline on that is, do the global elite conceal ancient aliens? But it's actually about much more than ancient aliens. It's about lost civilizations. It's about buried technology. It's about systems of control. It's not a book about aliens. It's about much more. And Jim Marrs joins us now on the Alex Jones Show to give us his analysis of what's happening with Snowden, the whistleblower, and the explosive NSA spy grid scandal that's now breaking big all over the world. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, it's a pleasure to be with you. I find it real interesting because I'm old enough to have gone through the Pentagon Papers scandal thing, and I remember when that first broke, and everybody's going, "Oh, well, there's nothing to that," but don't mind the man behind the curtain. And of course, that resulted in the resignation of a president. We keep our fingers crossed that something similar might happen on this thing if we keep the story in front of us. And I think the key thing to remember is that Ed Snowden basically is not telling us anything that so many of us knew already. It's what he's doing is giving inside confirmation to the fact that your government spies on you, okay? And it has nothing to do with security, because the whole war on terrorism is basically a fraud anyway, because yes, there are foreign people who would like to harm the United States, but if left to their own devices, they probably couldn't afford to rent a camel to get over here.
Right. Well, this is Snowden
we have to worry
actually
about are the people who are leading and ordering about people like Ed Snowden.
Well, Jim, Snowden actually addresses some of what you said there. He says that when this first began, the FISA program did mostly focus on foreigners, you know, not non-Americans. But he says increasingly it was turned, that entire security apparatus, the spy grid, was turned against Americans and is now used domestically. And this is his quote. He says now that we gather more information. Where is that actual quote? More information from Americans than we do from the Russians. So, I mean, come on. This is a U.S. spy grid now.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you, if you really stop and look at it and back off and view the big picture, what's very, very disturbing to me is that when I was a young man, if you spoke about the Constitution and the Republic and true liberty and freedom, you were considered a patriot, and you were considered a fine, upstanding American. Today, according to material that's been put out by the Obama administration and passed around to police departments and other law enforcement by the fusion centers, if you speak about the Constitution and if you support the freedom and liberty and criticize the government, you're some kind of a potential terrorist. I mean, where are we going, folks? This is worse than the McCarthy era.
Well, let's talk about that, because you have written about JFK extensively. In fact, you've researched the JFK assassination more than anyone. So you can actually give us a historical context of this. Can you compare this today to the Nixon-Watergate scandal? Can you give us a sense of scale of how much bigger and how much more dangerous this NSA spy scandal is compared to what Nixon did?
Well, yes, and again, because with Nixon and Watergate, you're just dealing with a corrupt president who was using the arm of the federal government to attack his political enemies. Today, they are attacking everybody, okay? And by the way, people should be cognizant of the fact that Watergate was a presidential assassination. All right. In fact, it was an extension of the Kennedy assassination. The big difference, of course, was that Kennedy was physically killed, while Nixon was just politically killed. And both of them were orchestrated. It's like one of the members of the infamous Warren Commission was bemoaning the fact, he said, we have to show the world that the United States is not just another banana republic.
Right.
Okay, where you can shoot the leader and take over. But unfortunately, folks, we are just another banana republic.
So, Jim,
just bigger and meaner and, you know, with better weaponry.
Julian Assange even spoke to that recently. He talked about the catastrophic breakdown of law and order in the United States, and he's right about that. But give us this answer, Jim. If Nixon was forced to resign over the Watergate scandal, which was minuscule compared to what we're seeing today, what should be done with Obama today if we are a country of law? What should happen to him?
Well, several things should have happened long before now. Number one, I know everybody rolls their eyes and goes, oh, this is just some politicking. But I think the evidence is certainly strong enough to point out that he is not even constitutionally qualified to be president, that there should have been at some point a legitimate hearing. The Supreme Court has never ruled on his eligibility. They simply refused to look at it.
Right.
That's a starting point. Second thing would be grand juries, all right? And the main thing is, and the thing that I hope this could lead to, is impeachment proceedings. I mean, if we could impeach Bill Clinton because of a stain on a dress, surely we can impeach Obama over loss of liberty, loss of sovereignty, murdering people around the world, designating American citizens for assassination without trial. Come on.
I know. I mean, Bill Clinton was only stalking one woman, and Obama's stalking all women and men and everybody in the United States. Jim, are you up to take a few calls?
Sure.
All right, let's go to our callers who've been waiting patiently. Marcus in Texas. Marcus, you're on the air. Direct your question, please, to Jim.
Hello. Can you give me just a second to take my phone off the speaker?
Yeah, go for it, man. And while you're doing that, let me give out the web address of Jim Marrs. It is jimmars.com. That's Mars with 2 R's, okay? M-A-R-R-S. jimmars.com will get you information about Jim and his books and his research. Now, caller, Marcus, go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'm back. Jim, do you remember about 2,000 years ago, there was a man who was completely unselfish and gave himself just like Mr. Snowden?
Oh, yes, I do. In fact, there's been several people like that. And isn't it interesting how that the people who advocate tyranny and control and propagate fear and loathing, they seem to prosper and do well, but the people like the fellow you're talking about, plus about a dozen others I could name, who say, let's all get along, let's be peaceful, let's love our fellow man, and they tend to get assassinated or strung up in one way or another, don't they?
Yeah, and why?
Yes, sir.
Well, good question, caller. But let me ask this, too. Why do we now have apologists for all of this, Jim? We've got these, predictably, the liberals and the Democrats are out there running around on the mainstream media saying, oh, who cares that they're reading all our email and listening to all our phone calls? We can trust Obama. He's our savior. Yeah, it's insane.
That's right. Well, all I can picture is a middle-class German in the 1930s who said, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. What do I care if the government snoops on me and spies on me and launches wars all around the world, because I am not guilty. I am merely following my orders.
Exactly.
Come on, folks.
Exactly.
Smell the history.
Well, now, Rand Paul, we're going to play this video later. Rand Paul is now saying that he wants 10 million Americans to join in a class action lawsuit that he wants to take to the Supreme Court to challenge all of this. But let me ask you this, Jim. Even if the Supreme Court ruled that this was illegal and unconstitutional, this NSA spy system isn't going to go down voluntarily. They may say, oh, yeah, we agree not to spy on Americans anymore. Yeah, wink, wink, cross your fingers behind your back. I mean, come on, it's a joke. They're going to do whatever they want because they are a runaway criminal gang that recognizes no boundaries and no law. How do we ever stop this, Jim?
Well, for one thing we can do, I'll tell you one little trick I've been doing just to thwart the system because, as I said in the beginning, this is nothing new. It's new that somebody on the inside has come forward and says, yes, we're doing all this, as opposed to the denials by both government and the communications companies. But what we know they've been doing for a long time with their supercomputers is recording everything that goes, emails and telephone calls and everything else, and then it's run through a filter, see, and if you say certain words like Osama bin Laden or nuclear bomb or Iraq, Afghanistan, then it flags it, and then people will start listening to find out what you're saying. So what we do is we overload the system. Every time you call up your mom, you say, hey, Mom, Osama bin Laden sends a nuclear bomb to you to see if you've had any drones come over, and you throw in every word you can think of before you start your conversation, and then you can overload them.
That's actually a really good strategy. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the noise strategy, because if you think about it, this guy Snowden who came forward, he's just one of probably thousands of analysts who, many of which are probably in their 20s, who are sitting around at these desks just analyzing and listening to people's phone calls that have been flagged by the system. So you're right. If you can seed all of these phone calls with these kinds of words and even in your emails and so on, then, yeah, they're going to flag you, but they're going to waste all their time listening to nonsense.
Exactly. And, of course, then there are those who say, well, you're going to harm our national security. Well,
give me a break.
If you go back and actually look at the terrorist attacks that we've had in this country, beginning with 9/11, you're going to find that every one of them involves a CIA or FBI
That's
informant.
Right.
In other words, it's all agents provocateur.
Yeah.
They've all been created, folks.
They're the ones setting it up so they have an excuse to spy on us, and then they can
say... It's the oldest trick in the book.
Yes.
I mean, you go back to the
Reichstag,
Nazis. They set fire to the Reichstag, to their parliament building, and then blamed it on communist terrorists and began to eradicate the Communist Party in Germany. It's the oldest trick in the book.
And they always claim they need more power. They need to listen to more people. Jay Leno, here's his quote. Quote, "We wanted a president that listens to all Americans. Now we have one." Good for you, Jay. Let's take another caller. Ryan in Minnesota. Ryan, you're on the Alex Jones Show with Jim Mars and Mike Adams. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yes, hi. It's nice to talk to both of you today. I'm happy to see that this information has finally been made public. Most of us in the know probably already assumed it was taking place, but the actual breadth and depth of the information that they have and can store is just, crazy.
Mind-boggling, yeah.
I'm wondering what's next. If we're not on our computer or at home or have a cell phone on us, are they going to make us wear some kind of microphone and camera? Because we don't want to be away from technology that could possibly track and record everything we're saying.
Well, check this out. I saw a camera being announced. It's some kind of camera that takes you clip it onto your shirt, and it takes a photo of your entire life. It takes a photo every 60 seconds of everything you do all day long, and then it uploads it to the cloud.
I wouldn't doubt it, and it might be mandatory here in the future. Who knows?
Good point. They might say, "Oh, you don't get Obamacare, you don't get health care unless you wear all this surveillance equipment." Yeah, but go ahead with your question.
You don't have to wear anything anyway, guys, because if you'll think about it, every time you pull up at a stoplight or walk up to a corner, there's cameras, and I'm sure there's no big technical problem to put listening devices there too.
Well, they've got them in the lamppost. Remember that story from, I don't know, a year ago or something here on InfoWars? The street lights are actually fitted with microphones in some places to listen to you. Oh, but wait, that's a conspiracy theory. No one's listening to you. But go ahead with your question, though, caller.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much more, how further could they possibly erode what we have left of the Fourth Amendment? What else can they, besides, stopping everybody when they drive down the road for no reason?
They will take all you give them, all right? And we have been given. It's time to say that's it. No more.
And the answer to that too, Ryan, is that they'll have mind reading technology. They will literally read your mind, and they'll put in pre-crime. It's just like that movie. What was it called with Tom Cruise? Minority Report. Yeah, that movie. It could become a reality. That's where they want to go. They want to read your mind. But great call, Ryan. Any further comments on that, Jim, before we go to the next call?
Yeah, quickly. Have you ever heard of a yottabyte?
No.
Okay. They are building, the National Security Agency is in the process of completing a huge compound, $2 billion compound in Utah that is 1/3 larger than the U.S. Capitol to store all forms of communication. So in other words, they're not only listening, they're storing it all away, and they're going up to a yottabyte, okay? A yottabyte? What's that? Okay, well, you already know about gigabytes. That's the most commonly used unit for computer hard disk storage. And a petabyte, that's 1,000 petabytes equals an exabyte, and 1,000 exabytes equals a zettabyte, and 1,000 zettabytes equals a yottabyte. In other words, a yottabyte it holds, 1 quadrillion gigabytes, and the average household computer holds about 200 gigabytes.
Right.
So they are now putting in the capacity to not only listen, but to store all of the information on everybody.
Well, yeah. What do you think they're going to use this for? Are they going to use this to help uplift humanity?
Line their pockets by selling it to commercial enterprises, so they can pinpoint your marketing needs and pinpoint you for advertising, and then they will figure out ways to use that for psychological warfare operations, so that they can get you to believing and in just about anything they want you to believe in.
It's incredible. This is massive slavery. This is so far beyond 1984. This is Orwellian to the extreme. Let's go to another caller to get some more comments. Bill from Philadelphia. Bill, you're on the air with Jim Mars. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Mike. Hi, Jim. I just wanted to make a comment, and then you guys can add to it what you see fit. People in this country have to stop having the opinion that if I'm doing nothing wrong, then what does it matter? Well, it does matter because there's a dossier being created on every American in this country. What I have done to try to limit my exposure is cash as much as possible, unplug the cable box.
Hey, Bill, stay with us. Will you stay on the line? We got to go to break, but I want to get more of your tips on the other side of this break. So just stay with us. We'll continue with you right here on the Alex Jones Show. You're going to learn tips how to protect yourself from the NSA spy grid. Stay with us. We need like a relaxing, joyful, frolicking in the clouds. Welcome to NPR, where you'll never hear real news, just stuff to make you relax and enjoy your slave cage. All right, sorry, I'm goofing around a little bit. Had a little bit too much chocolate today. Jim Mars continues with us. This is the Alex Jones Show. No, this is not NPR. You're tuning in to The Truth Radio, actually the alternative media, which is now the new mainstream media, since the alternative media likes to pretend none of this exists. They told Alex years ago that he was crazy to say the NSA was listening to your phone calls and reading your emails. Turns out he was right all along, once again. And another person who was right is, of course, Jim Mars, who continues with us as a guest in this segment. Jim, continuing with this story, what do you think is going to happen to the whistleblower, Ed Snowden? Does he die within weeks or days? What happens?
No, they're a little smarter than that. If he should suddenly get run over tomorrow, I think everybody in the whole world would go, aha, so no, that's not going to help their cause any. No, they'll come out with some expert or some psychiatrist, some psychologist, and they'll all start giving that psycho babble and try to say, well, he's just delusional and he doesn't know what he's talking about. But the problem is he does know what he's talking about. And as I said before, in fact, as we said at the beginning of the show, he's basically only telling us what we already knew to be true. But you actually kind of stole some of my thunder there, because big point I was going to make is that everyone who's been pointed to and called a conspiracy theorist, and that's yourself, Mike Adams, that's Alex Jones, that's myself, and a lot of others, turns out, gee, we're right. Okay?
Yeah.
In fact, that's the only thing that keeps my sanity, because sometimes I try to catch myself up and go, hey, Mars, maybe you're just making stuff up. Maybe you're just looking at things the wrong way. Maybe you are just a conspiracy theorist. So I get real objective, and I sit back and I look at all of the evidence and all of the facts and all the information I have, and I go, no.
It's all true.
The same thing I'm sure that you've done, Mike.
Yeah, in fact, we have a caller on this very point, Gary from New Mexico. Gary, welcome to the show. You have comments about Alex mentioning all this years ago, I understand?
Actually, yes, Jim and Mike, you guys have in your archives a video from Bill Benny. The article was Adon Salazar, August 28, 2012. And when I called in, I mentioned that Bill Benny knows if you can connect the dots to Operation Thin Thread, Trailblazer, and now what he came out with, Alex, in Stellar Wind, and Jim said it exactly. You can connect the dots to Snowden, to Stellar Wind, to the data center in Utah.
Well, yeah, all the puzzle pieces are all coming together now. We see what's happening, culture of intimidation with the IRS, the Department of Justice surveilling journalists, and now all this comes out with the NSA. Jim, we've only got about 30 seconds in this segment. Your comments.
Yeah, well, there's no justice in the Justice Department, and there's no intelligence in the intelligence communities. It's time for the people to start taking the power back to themselves and trying to turn the United States of America back into a freedom-loving republic.
Well said, Jim, and we're going to go to break here shortly, but we're going to continue on the other side of that with 5 more minutes of Jim Mars and his comments on the breaking NSA scandal, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Well, the NSA spy grid scandal has exploded onto the global scene. Now people are realizing their government has been lying to them and spying on them in ways they never could have imagined before. It's so devastating to the credibility of the government that now it has a lot of people asking, is it time for a citizens' revolt against this big brother expansion of government power? And continuing in our last segment with author Jim Marrs of jimmars.com, that's 2 R's on the Mars, or 2 R's on Mars. Jim is going to give us some more information on why this matters. So, Jim, we were just talking about what you think might happen to Snowden. Apparently, we're being told that he is now missing in Hong Kong and faces the fear of extradition there, might be trying to sneak his way over to Iceland. That's a long haul, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long haul. Besides that, hey, the world, we are indeed in the global village today. You can't get away from it. He went to Hong Kong because Hong Kong, although now part of China, does have a certain amount of autonomy. Of course, I remember visiting in Tibet, and they were told there they had some autonomy, and then as soon as they tried to exercise their autonomy, the Chinese swooped down and killed a bunch of them and straightened them out. But here's the thing. There is no more real nations, okay, because at the very top of the power pyramid in China even, you find the very same people. I mean, they practically own the United States. They were just recently given entree to the Federal Reserves, our reserves. They have drawing rights like everybody else. They're members of the G20 that's all being administered through the old Bank of International Settlements, the World Bank, and at the very top, it's the same people controlling both. But this gives us an opportunity because they want to continue to keep the facade going that somehow we're enemies with China, see? So in China, they can report pretty openly about all the corruption and the bad stuff going on in America, while in America, we can report on the bad stuff going on in China, but in either country, you can't report on what's happening in that country because they have control over the media.
That's right.
What you do is you start listening to the Chinese sources to find out what's happening here, and the Chinese need to start listening to U.S. media to find out what's happening over there. It's an oddball thing, but I think you'll agree with me that at the top, the leadership is the same.
Absolutely. They're all interested in total domination over the people. And if you look at what Snowden gave as his justification for why he stepped forward, he was saying that he did not want to live in a country where this kind of surveillance is happening on a routine basis. He actually had some morals and some ethics. He was a Ron Paul supporter.
Right.
He saw what was going on, and he decided to step forward, even knowing, because he worked for the CIA, knowing that they would try to kill him.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Ron Paul. I am probably one of the few people who have actually and legally voted for Ron Paul for president of the United States. That was in 1988 when he ran as the candidate for the Libertarian Party. And all I got to do is say this. Going all the way back into the 80s, Ron Paul was the only man who's shown any backbone, who spoke truth, who spoke to truth, who tried to tell us what's going on, and tried to tell us here's what you could do about it. And he's always ended up being, you know, tail last and oh, just forget him and never mind about him and blah, blah, blah. Why do we continue to fall for the media hype of the worst people in the whole world? And when we finally get somebody that's got some sense and actually probably has the best interest of everyone at heart, and of course he's not very dynamic because he looks like and acts like just kind of an old country doctor.
Well,
But of course, oops, wait a minute, he is just an old country doctor, the very type of person that we,
Jim, we gotta
need in a leadership
we got to let you
position.
go. We're out of time on this segment, but great insights. And everybody, I want you to encourage you to check out Jim Marrs' website and also his book, Our Occulted History. Thank you, Jim, for joining us on The Alex Jones Show today. We'll continue right after this break. All right, welcome to the second hour of The Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex. He'll be back on the show tomorrow with a lot to say about this explosive scandal, the NSA spy grid scandal. Now, the whistleblower Ed Snowden has stepped forward at great risk to his own life and also potentially the lives of his family members. Who knows what these spooks are going to do because of this? But he has stepped forward, of course, in this groundbreaking interview. It's probably the biggest story of the century in terms of government surveillance. It's so much bigger than anything else, even Watergate or anything even approaching that. Glenn Greenwald, the journalist from The Guardian, this is the biggest story of his life, absolutely. No question about it. Now, we're going to play in just a second. We're going to play another segment from that interview. But first, I want to tell you that one of these leaked slides of the PRISM data collection system that Snowden leaked to The Guardian shows the actual dates at which these services were activated with connections to the government. So the government has direct server access to Microsoft and Hotmail, Yahoo Mail, Google and Gmail, and Google Drive also if you store your files in the cloud, Facebook, PalTalk, YouTube, Skype, AOL, and Apple. All of these are now sharing data with the federal government, sharing all of your data, your logins, your passwords, your emails, your text chats, your voice chats, your photos, your posts, social media posts, everything that you've been doing lately that you post online. They know about it. They're even scanning your files if you use Google Drive. We have got to get to a point now across the board where we all stop using these companies' products and services, period. It's difficult. It's difficult. I mean, we still use them on our website, but we've got to find alternatives. Now, we dropped Facebook comments from our website just about, 10 days ago, maybe only a week ago. We dropped them because we were fed up with Facebook censorship. We said enough is enough. We dropped them. We replaced it with Discuss, a different comment engine. And what do you know? The IQ of the commenters went straight up. All of a sudden, the comments were more intelligent. But we've all got to find ways to do this. And as a caller mentioned in the last hour, there is a huge business opportunity here for people who can create truly secure, non-betraying services that are chats and emails. I mean, there's Start Page email. I think it's called Start Mail. But it's, you got to pay $50 a year, I think, is what it costs. But at least you get your privacy. $50 is a small price to pay to get your privacy. Now, before we go to this interview, continuing the interview with Snowden by Glenn Greenwald, let me just encourage you that this broadcast is listener supported. Sorry, I used to saying reader supported because that's my website. Listener supported. Please check this out. The ProPure water filters really are good. I know I've assessed all the water filters myself. I even taught a class on how to build your own water filter. And the ProPure is better than anything you can build yourself. I mean, I've taught preparedness. I've done things like that. ProPure is really the best out there. So go to InfoWarsStore.com. Get 10% off the filter right now with promo code WATER. Just WATER. And get a ProPure water filter. It's gravity-fed, and it has an all-in-one filter that takes out fluoride from your water as well, so you can stay healthy at the same time that you're helping to support this broadcast and shoring up your emergency preparedness. So thank you for your support. Now let's continue with that interview with Snowden and see what he has to say about how anyone can be flagged as guilty under this system. Go ahead.
Because even if you're not doing anything wrong, you're being watched and recorded. And the storage capability of these systems increases every year consistently by orders of magnitude to where it's getting to the point you don't have to have done anything wrong. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call. And then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis to sort of derive suspicion from an innocent life and paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer.
We are...
Yeah, there's the comment. They can paint anyone in the context of a wrongdoer. You can go ahead and cut that video. Think about that. Because they spy on you and everyone, they can go back in time and they can scrutinize every decision you ever made, every conversation you ever had, things that you may have not even thought of. I mean, in the future, if they catch you speeding down the road, they could use this system to go back and catch you on a phone call talking about how much you love to drive fast and then, worsen your speeding ticket. That's obviously a very silly, light example. They could use this to do many, many other things to threaten and intimidate you, shut down your speech, or influence key people in key positions of power to change their decisions, like members of Congress. And by the way, a quick correction. I just mentioned in the last segment that we dropped Facebook as our discussion engine. And when I say we, I mean Natural News. That's my website. I did not mean to imply InfoWars. I don't have any control over the InfoWars discussion engines. I'm not even sure what InfoWars is using for their engine, but when I say we, I meant Natural News. It's kind of playing, dual roles here. When I come in and host for Alex Jones, obviously I'm speaking on behalf of InfoWars, or at least as a guest host for InfoWars, but sometimes I sort of revert back to the we, meaning Natural News. In any case, the bottom line is we all got to get away from these services because we know they're sharing all of this information with the government. So I know, because I've had conversations with Alex privately, I know that Alex is also concerned and looking for ways to eliminate any kind of connection with any of these services, not even to use their services. But he's also right when he says that as long as Facebook has an audience, we got to use the enemy's tools to spread the truth. So I'm sure that InfoWars and Natural News will both continue to post on Facebook, but we encourage people to stop posting your personal details on there. We can post news on there. That's not a problem. But if you go on there and post, who's your friend and what you did last weekend and here's pictures of your family, that's the kind of information they can use against you. So don't use these services for anything that can ever be used against you. Now, here's some additional breaking news. And by the way, we've got John Rappoport coming up at the bottom of this hour for his analysis of what's going on. And we're going to continue with your calls. So stay on the line there, Jack and Francis and Linda and others. Stay on the line. We'll get to you in just a minute here. We've still got time. Iceland is considering offering NSA whistleblower asylum. So this is a quote from Birgitta Jonsdottir. Sorry, I butcher these Nordic names. They're difficult. But she is the executive director of the International Modern Media Institute. And in this article posted on InfoWars right now by Kurt Nimmo, she states that she essentially welcomes Snowden to seek asylum in Iceland. And Snowden has said, the only thing I can do is sit here and hope the Hong Kong government does not deport me. Well, there can be a lot of pressure brought to bear on the Hong Kong government, believe me, even if necessary, death threats from, the right spooks. So Snowden is in danger. He has now apparently, quote, disappeared off the radar in Hong Kong. No one can find him. He checked out of the hotel. He's on the run because he knows he's going to have to. Otherwise, he's going to be probably killed or tortured. And in any case, they're definitely going to try to assassinate his reputation and character. So watch out for retroactive false flags where they plant evidence into his past. See, this is the kind of thing that the NSA can do. They can fabricate some fictional history, and they can put it into his record, or into his past, and then they can bring that out and say, see, he was, caught smoking crack or whatever back in 2005. They can make up anything. At this point, you can't believe anything the NSA is saying, okay? You can't believe anything the government is telling you. Certainly not Obama, who covered all this up. Certainly not the NSA, who's in the business of deception. I mean, this whole thing was a grand deception. You can't believe anything that they're telling you from this point forward. So let's hope that Snowden gets asylum in Iceland or some other country. Maybe Ecuador, huh? They'll have Julian Assange and Snowden. Ecuador could start to put together quite a little roster of some whistleblowers right there. They could be a force to be reckoned with. Go Correa! Yeah, grant this guy asylum. But let's continue with the calls with Jack in Florida. Jack, you're on the air. Go ahead with your questions or comments. You there, Jack?
Yeah, here. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
All right, doing good. Thanks for your call.
No, you do a fantastic job every time you host a show, man. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I'm doing my best. What's on your mind?
I wanted to talk about the NSA whistleblowing stuff, obviously, the news. A couple comments and a question for you.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Well, Thursday woke up, life changed forever, obviously, for everybody. The news that this has been going on, we were all kooks all this time, and, we were all right. So it was Alex's been going on forever.
Yeah.
They're watching everything that we do. They're listening to everything that we do. And I think the implications of this have absolutely nothing to do with foreign terrorism whatsoever. I think this is completely domestic. Would you agree with that?
Well, my guess is it's probably started out with foreign terrorists, maybe back, right after it got signed into law, but then it quickly shifted to focus on domestic. So now I think you're right. I think it's almost entirely domestic focus.
Yeah, and look at the implications of this. Look at the election. I mean, did this guy really win the election at this point,
Yeah.
You're supposed to know. If they know everything that's going on, they're probably blackmailing people left and right.
Oh,
Of course. They probably blackmailed the Chief Justice on the whole Obamacare ruling, which is why he 180'd at the last minute.
Wow, that's a really good point. What if they got all his emails?
Control everything.
Exactly.
This is total awareness of everything that's going on in our country 24/7. As a matter of fact, I would even state that they could probably predict the future with this stuff.
Oh, well, we already know Google has those algorithms to predict the future behavior of individuals based on their search behavior and their emails and things like that. That's not even science fiction. That's already here. But caller,
So they're tracking me. They're poisoning the food in the water.
We got to go to break, but stay with us. I want to go back to you after this break. So stay with us. We'll be right back with you after this call. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for joining us. This is the Alex Jones Show. All right, we're going to continue with our caller here in just a second, Jack in Florida. Thanks for staying on the line. But I was just joking with the guys, the producers here between segments. So, the problem with the NSA is that the people there are really smart. I mean, this guy, Snowden, he's obviously a very high IQ individual. They grabbed him right out of high school. He never even finished high school. He went straight from, I don't know, being a sophomore in high school to working for the CIA, probably doing some kind of crazy, computer decryption algorithms or something. The problem is that the people there are just too smart. What we need is to put the TSA in charge of the NSA so that they're not very capable. You'd go into the NSA analyst room and all the agents would be putting on latex gloves and saying, well, we don't want to catch something from people's email. Or instead of surveilling your phone calls, you'd find they're all just surfing child porn sites because they are pedophiles after all. So I think that's our answer, Obama. You should just take all the TSA agents and just let them run the NSA. And then we'd all be safe because they're not going to get anything done that's useful. And by the way, Obama, if you were really smart, you know what you would do? You would give this guy, Snowden, give him the highest citizens award in the history of America. That would separate you from the scandal, and it would ensure the safety of this guy who is, after all, protecting Americans from bad government. So Obama does have a strategy to protect himself from this scandal and maybe avoid impeachment. But let's go back to our caller, Jack in Florida. You had some good points there. What are your thoughts continuing with this? Where do you think this is all going?
I also think that, just to build on what I was talking about before with Justice Roberts, they probably did this to betray us, too. I think it came out that all this was leaked through emails and the whole Benghazi thing. They're using this as complete control to just blackmail anybody who opposes what they want, because they've got all your information and know everything about you now.
You're exactly right. I think we have to go back now and re-examine these key decisions and these key setups and scandals with this now in light, because you're right. Go ahead.
And like I was saying, they're poisoning the water, they're poisoning the food, they're spraying the skies, and these people expect me to disarm? I mean, this is laughable. Are you kidding me? You're obviously coming after the American public. Let's face it. 100+ million gun-owning Americans are the only thing standing in the way of these people taking over the world. They've already disarmed the whole Western world. Everybody's already disarmed.
But how?
Which is why you see the gun grab going on right now. But I think they knew that this was going to come out.
I think you're being unreasonable. We can trust them with a national gun registration list. I know we can't trust the IRS, we can't trust the DOJ, we can't trust the FDA, we can't trust the ATF, the DEA, the NSA. We can't trust them. They're going to abuse the list, but I think a nationwide gun registration list, oh yeah, they would keep their promise on that one. Yeah. How could you think otherwise?
It's scary to think that they're listening into recording to this phone call we're having right now, Mike.
Oh, you can bet they're listening to this broadcast.
Oh, absolutely. I'll put all the proper keywords, right? So, and I'm going to start doing what Jim Marr said, too.
Yeah.
Every time I make a phone call or send an email from now on, it's just going to be nothing but keywords.
No, you just make it into a song like bomba da bomba 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 bim la da bomba bim and then la and you know, you just go at it, man. You just drop them all in there, let their computers go haywire. The NSA data center in Utah blows a fuse. Yeah, victory at last.
And I think they're going to use the data center they're building out in Utah to link this whole system up to all of the cameras that they're putting at every intersection, too.
Pretty soon they're going to have a matrix. They're going to plug that data center into your spinal column. You know, it'll be just like out of the Matrix.
Here, folks, we are living in it right now. It is already here.
It is here. Yeah. Very good. I really love your call. Great points, Jack. Thank you for your call. Awesome.
Mike, thanks for taking my call, man. Appreciate it.
You bet. Great to have you on. Great calls all day. You guys are awesome. You get it. In fact, let's take another call right now. Simeon in England, or Simon, sorry, in England. Sorry, I butchered your name there, sir, but you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi there. It's Simeon from England.
Simeon.
I'm a first-time caller.
Great. Go ahead.
I've been researching this sort of stuff since I was 17. I'm now 26, so I was awake quite early. I just want to make some points and give some advice.
Go ahead. We've got about 1 minute before break. Go ahead.
Okay. But people haven't looked at this in an overall way, because over here, when internet-ready computers were first given to us, all the newspapers all said, to be frank, they all said, oh my God, it's got pornography on it, it's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But immediately, everyone started buying computers. And I think the whole idea of people buying a personal computer and then advertising it as having porn on it and things like that was an advert to get people to use this.
Well, some interesting points there about invading the culture. We got to go to break, Simon. I apologize, but thank you for your points. And stay with us. John Rappoport comes up after this break. This is the Alex Jones Show. Neil Cavuto went ballistic yesterday when interviewing people about the NSA spy scandal, and ballistic in a good way, by the way. I admire what he said. He lost it, and it was refreshing to see. He looked a little bit like Alex Jones on Piers Morgan. Let's actually go to that clip and listen to Neil Cavuto lay into these guests for just carrying their party line nonsense instead of actually addressing the issue that we're all being spied on. Here's Neil.
Investigative reporting and not protecting the First Amendment in this country. People are seriously in doubt about whether the White House is looking out for this country's best
creepiness
interests. And I understand that.
It's the creepiness. Julian, I mean, I guess what I'm asking you is what part of Custer don't you understand here, where you're surrounded and you see one incident after another that comes up.
Now listen to this liberal make
excuses. Back to the same basic issue. Privacy's invaded or potentially invaded. Institutions of all sorts doing pretty much the same thing. There is a pattern.
If you want to conflate and combine all these issues and then make these general statements, you can do that. I just don't think it's a very thoughtful way of approaching it.
Well, why don't you think about what I just said, Julian? I'm asking you to think and connect all the... Now, Julian, don't play the politics game.
I don't connect the dots. I don't connect the dots,
Julian, I'm telling you, drop the liberal thing and focus on the reality thing. You have one entity after another going after the American people. You have one system of government, one agency, one department after another, essentially doing the same thing. You can call that conflating. I am telling you, there's a pattern, and you're just shrugging your shoulders. But I guarantee you, Julian, if it were George Bush doing it, you would rightly be all over it.
That's wrong.
Well,
that's actually incorrect, because I was actually...
Let's face it.
Look,
Go ahead.
You want me to respond? So, look, you can't conflate all of these issues. You have to speak about them separately because they're very different. In the case of the IRS, I agree the targeting was wrong, but there was never any connection to the White House. Nobody's proven that.
This guy would make
in the case of the AP case, there was no one was criminalizing investigative reporting. Nobody in the Justice Department ever spoke about prosecuting Rosen. That was simply a method
Cavuto's about to go ballistic.
That is not targeting.
Called him a culprit.
Secondly, I'm not going to get anywhere at this point.
The White House, Julian, because I want to talk facts, and you want to make these general broadsides.
I'm sorry, Julian, you're saying nothing, and it's offensive.
Okay, well then, Neil, why don't we speak about them specifically? Let's debate each issue specifically. You're the one making the general allegations.
Cavuto,
you play the same old game.
He's awesome. It's nice to see him actually get a little angry about that. Where do these liberal reporters get off on this idea, oh, you can't conflate these issues? You know what they're saying is you can't talk about more than one thing. I mean, oh, wait a minute. There's a pattern here. There's the IRS, there's the DOJ, there's the NSA. There's all the lies that Obama told when he was running for office that turned out he's continuing the things he said he would stop, like the secret military prisons. And you can't, quote, conflate these issues. You can't talk about more things, more than one thing at a time. You can't connect the dots. Are you kidding me? It's insane. Good job, Cavuto, in this case, going after these guys. I actually appreciate your outrage on the air, Cavuto. Now, to give us some more context on this, we're joined now by John Rappoport, a great analyst and researcher and writer. His website is nomorefakenews.com. The name says it all. John Rappoport joins us now by Skype for additional analysis. John, what did you think of Neil Cavuto going ballistic in a good way?
Hey, Mike. Well, I think we need more of that. I think we need more ballisticism from these guys who are finally getting fed up. I don't care whether they're on the left or the right or the middle or up or down. You know, it just gets to a point where even they have a tough time pretending that it's all very neutral and we're having a conversation about these things. You know, because it's so completely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the government wants to get into your pants, into your brain, into everything you've got, into your bank, and they'll do whatever it takes, and they are doing whatever it takes. And so this latest revelation about the NSA is just one more monster on top of all the other monsters, and it also indicts all the corporations, the tech companies who have been complying and agreeing and lying and obfuscating about the fact that, you know, they're all in it together.
Well, yeah, that's why Cavuto said, quote, drop the liberal thing and just answer the freaking question, act like a human being. We're all being spied on. You know, forget about who's in the White House for a minute and just think like a human being. But these liberals refuse to do that. They want their guy in the White House to be on the winning team. And as Cavuto said, if Bush was in the White House and this was going on, the left would be screaming bloody murder over all of the spy scandals. But now that Obama is in, it's okay. Bill Maher says, oh, it's fine because I trust Obama. Really? Are you that stupid? Come on.
Well, he gave him $1 million, so I guess he has to defend him. I don't know. But yeah, you know, if Bush were in the White House now, the Republicans would be defending him. They would be saying, well, there's no thing that we must refrain from doing to protect the security of the United States. And if we have to put everybody under hypnotic drugs 24 hours a day all over the world to do it, let's do it because we'll all be safe then and everybody will be peaceful. You know, so these people just keep on switching sides and going back and forth because they're paid to do that. I mean, that's why they send their kids to college. That's how they can afford their house payments.
And let's remember how this all began. Let's go back to the so-called terror attacks of 9/11 and then the outrage and the Bush era pushing of the Patriot Act and how all the Republicans said, yeah, let's give up our rights. And now those same Republicans are screaming, well, Obama's taking our rights. You gave them to him. Come on, people. I mean, come on. Look in the mirror.
Where did that all start? Yeah, right.
Give me a break.
And let's go to war in Iraq. Yes, we have to go to war in Iraq. Why are we going to a war in Iraq again? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, WMDs. Where are they? I don't know. But let's go to war anyway, and let's let a lot of people get killed, and let's kill a lot of people. It's a great thing, and we have to support the troops, and this and that and the other thing. You know, when people can't get far enough back to see what's actually going on, they literally go insane because they're right in the middle of all this crossfire and they just begin to react negatively to everything that their training tells them they have to react to. It's just pure mind control. You got to see the big picture here, you know? A slave state. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, total slave state. And we had a caller previously who brought up some very good points saying, hey, maybe that key decision about Obamacare by the Supreme Court justice who changed his mind at the last minute, maybe they got his private emails and threatened him with something. You you know, maybe Petraeus was threatened, or they got his emails and then were able to expose his affair and kick him out of power. I mean, they've probably been using this all along to get certain people out of the way and get other people to change their decisions.
Oh, yeah. No question about it. And another thing that the public is very confused about, you know, you don't have to say that Petraeus is a saint in order to say at the same time that he was railroaded and discredited because he was saying things that the administration didn't want him to say.
Right.
It's not black or white, folks. Wake up, you know, because people get all in a tizzy about that. Well, so you're defending Petraeus and you're saying that he's the most one? No. Just saying that this is how they take people down. And by the way, since you mentioned Obamacare, Mike, all of this spying and surveilling and record keeping and so forth, let us not forget that your medical records are going to be added into this matrix.
Oh, yeah.
Every single thing that happens in the doctor's office is all going to be part of your profile that is assembled by the NSA and the FBI and the CIA and every other agency, DHS, that's working on this to complete a whole picture of you.
Yep.
And those medical records will be right in there.
The same government that's spying on your email, grabbing your logins and passwords, and listening to your phone calls is now going to know about your erectile dysfunction problem.
Yeah, right.
How wonderful is that?
And if they see fit to blackmail you or extort you with that, they will. Absolutely. By the way, sir, you don't know me, but how's the Viagra working out?
Yeah, right. Yeah, secret phone call.
What? Yeah, sit down. Let's have a little conversation because you've been doing some things here as a congressman that we think you ought to have, you know, have second thoughts about. Boom.
Yeah, like voting for an extension of Obamacare. You know, come January 1, believe me, these state exchanges are going to just implode with technical problems. But let's go to some phone calls, John. Let's bring in some callers because we've had such great calls today, and we've got a caller on the line, Linda from Boston. The note I have here is that it's bigger than the NSA. So, Linda from Boston, you're on the air with John Rappoport. Go ahead, Linda. Are you there?
Linda.
I think the NSA was listening to her phone call as she called in, and they already took care of her.
Yeah,
that's too bad. Let's go to John in Wisconsin, fighting the New World Order. John, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hey there, you're on the air.
You're on the air.
Yes. Well, I first wanted to thank Alex in this show for years ago, about 10 years ago, he used to end the show with the unction or the exhortation, go out and fight the New World Order. I have enjoyed doing that. Couple things with the, you know, Perry's emails and now trying to get some of that video footage from the Boston Marathon. It's a little thing I could do. And that's kind of what I think our next step is as citizens is, hey, you know, this machinery has gotten really large. Somewhere this gearwork of tyranny is spinning near you, and I firmly believe that somewhere you have the spanner in your hand to stick it in. And we just all have to do our little part in whichever way we can to just get in the way.
Well, good point, John. Great question. John Rappoport, now, please answer that. How do we take action against this incredible spy grid that seems almost omniscient? It knows all our secrets. How do you stop a system like that?
Well, I'm working on an article now. I think people have to use their imaginations. For example, how about videotaping yourself as you go around, you know, your daily life, and then send the video files to the NSA? Help them. Help them. So what would happen if 50,000 people started taping themselves and saying, you know, we are loyal, patriotic Americans, and we believe that we should be spied on. In fact, we don't think you're doing a good enough job, so we want to fill up your email boxes with public information, with videos of us living our lives every day, and you can look at all of it, you see, and all of a sudden this gets to be a story. Oh, look at what's happening here. This gets to be a gigantic joke on the NSA.
But how do you even send the video to the NSA? It seems like the only way you can get it into their hands is by sending it through a service where you don't want them to spy on you. It's not like they have an inbox where you can voluntarily submit. They only get things illegally.
Well, they do have they do have public outreach. I mean, every organization does. You know, public information officer, press office, liaisons to the public, public education that they do, all this sort of insanity. And if you look hard enough, I've done this as a reporter. Oh, look, here's an email address. I think I'll send somebody an email here. And lo and behold, it gets through. Just like, well, you can't walk into the White House and talk to Obama, but you can get to the White House through various email addresses and so forth. Or if you fail at that, you post it up on YouTube. An open confession to the NSA. Here's what I've really been doing. So 50 or 100,000
Here's my boring life. I was picking carrots this morning.
Yeah, talk about a spanner. I mean, you have to, you know, you have to think imaginatively here. You have to turn the tables on them in some way. There's all kinds of things that people can figure out if they give a little thought and imagination to it. You'd be surprised.
I can just see the NSA, some analyst assigned to my life, they'd be bored out of their minds. Oh, he's feeding the chickens again. You know?
Okay.
Oh, my God, he's milking the goats.
Uh-oh, I wonder if that's raw milk. Yeah.
Yeah, he might be a terrorist. He's going after the farm animals.
Almost certainly a terrorist.
Driving a tractor. Yeah, my life. Yeah, I'm sure I'm flagged as a terrorist on multiple fronts. You know, just for growing food. You know.
Too late for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, check this out. Representative Steve Stockman, a congressman from Texas, he's going to be joining us, by the way, in the next hour. He's got some hilarious tweets that he put out over the weekend on the spy scandal. And one of his tweets was as follows, and I want your comments on this, John, and then we'll probably take some more calls. Quote, "At this point, the only way to prevent people from hearing your conversations is to have them on MSNBC." That's a good one, yeah?
I think that's very good, sure. There's only, I don't know, they only have a few 100,000 people watching out of 300 and something million on MSNBC. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, well, let's take another call then. What do you say?
Okay, sure.
All right, let's go to Francis in North Carolina. Francis, you're on the air with John Rappoport and Mike Adams here. Go ahead.
Good day to you both, for that matter. And as much as there is a surveillance grid and cameras, sensors this way, that way, up everyone's backside and so forth ad nauseum, there's one that I have not heard anybody address that I have taken note of for months. And this occurs at intersections, either as you're stopping at a red light, or even after you pass the intersection, they are placed in the pavement after an intersection. If anyone happens to pay attention and look at these lines that are cut into the pavement, on the West Coast, they look like circles. On the East Coast, they look like squares or rectangles or whatever that are actually cut into the pavement. And the only thing I can surmise is that they are wires or magnetic strips of some sort that actually can scan your vehicle when you pass over it.
That's an interesting idea. I wouldn't put it past the NSA. What do you think, John? Is something like that going on?
I haven't heard of that particular thing, assuming that it's not just to regulate traffic lights and so forth. Yeah. So look into that one.
What if every car is built with an RFID system already built into it? You know, they're trying to put black boxes into the cars, but what if the caller's right? Maybe they have an RFID transponder, and every time you drive over one of these intersections, you know, that the location of your car gets uploaded to the NSA, which they cross-reference with your phone calls and everything else. I mean, it's just another layer of tracking. It could be true.
It could definitely be true. The whole point of this is that they want to, and they're getting closer and closer to be able to track everybody all the time in real time. Wherever they are, whatever they do, whatever they say, wherever they go. That's, you know, the mission. That's their mission statement. Has nothing to do with stopping terrorism. Has to do with control. That's what they're after. That's what they've always been after. And these monsters that are committing crimes every day that run these super spy networks, you know, they are the people who are the technicians for, you know, we call it what you will, global management, the police state, and so on. And all of the spin-offs that we've been hearing, you know, for example...
John, we're going to go to break here. Okay. But we'll continue with you on the other side of that break, and thank you for that caller. That's very interesting. Hey, if they're not tracking your cars with RFIDs, they're certainly taking pictures of you and using facial recognition algorithms to see who's driving your car and where else you might be going on that same day. This is the Alex Jones Show. More analysis straight ahead. Stay with us. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. I love how when Bush was in office, all these Democrats and liberals were screaming about Bush's terrible police state. Oh my God, this guy is spying on us. He's got the Patriot Act. He's threatening our civil rights. Call the ACLU. In fact, let's nominate a man for president who's a constitutional scholar named Obama. And then when Obama gets into office, all these same people who are so intellectually just dishonest, betraying every principle as long as their guy is in office, all these same liberals and Democrats say, what, spying? We love to be spied on. We love it. Obama's in office. We love to be spied on now. Surveillance. Go surveillance. More, more, more. Who cares about the Constitution? Who cares about the Bill of Rights? Our guys in the White House. We're winning, winning, winning. That's what they do. I mean, how pathetic is that, John Rappoport?
Yeah. And why do people vote? You know, if they only have a choice between two jackasses, when either go to a third party, if there's somebody really who stands for freedom, or just opt out completely. Because, you know, face it, somebody's going to the polls to put these criminal morons in office every couple of years, 4 years, 6 years, depending on which position they hold. And they perform the same way year after year, decade after decade. And yet people still allow these people to, you know, run Washington, D.C. to the degree that they do. It's just completely insane. I mean,
it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, how stupid, how completely stupid.
So one possible example of hope, real hope for real change, not the fake hope and change that we've been offered, is a real example is Rand Paul. And we're going to cut to a video of him describing what he wants to do to challenge this NSA spy grid all the way up to the Supreme Court. Let's roll a couple of minutes of that. Go ahead, guys.
Well, you know, they're looking at 1 billion phone calls a day is what I read in the press, and that doesn't sound to me like a modest invasion of privacy. It sounds like an extraordinary invasion of privacy. The Fourth Amendment says that you have to look at, and you can ask for a warrant for a specific to a person, place, and the items. This is a general warrant. This is what we objected to, and what our founding fathers partly fought the revolution over, is they did not want generalized warrants where you could go from house to house with soldiers looking for things, or now from computer to computer to phone without specifying who you're targeting.
Well, let's look at the effects of the internet surveillance program as opposed to the phone surveillance program in 2009.
Well, that's enough. Rand Paul basically said it right there. John Rappoport, your comments on Rand Paul, if you were able to hear that clearly.
Yeah, I was. Sure. I mean, if we've got people like him who are willing to press this issue and not just, you know, make a little press conference out of it, and to actually force this up to higher levels, why not? But I'm afraid I'm not confident at all that the Supreme Court would do anything about it.
Well, and plus the Supreme Court justices may all be compromised by the NSA.
Yeah, of course. So then you have to ask who's really running things. Sure, I don't have a lot of faith in the Supreme Court coming out and deciding, yes, this is completely wrong and it has to be dismantled. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go over to the NSA and say, okay, guys, you've got here enough storage for 600 quadrillion, you know, pieces of information. So we're going to limit you down to 5 million. Those are the only legal ones that you can have. You know, they're not going to do that.
It's not going to fly.
They're going to make some kind of concession. Yes, you can't cut your fingernails in the lobby of the NSA building anymore, okay? That's where we're going with
No, it's clear the NSA is just going to keep lying to Congress, lying to the public, and we're going to get
Supreme Court.
And lie to the Supreme Court, absolutely. This is the Alex Jones Show. More analysis straight ahead. We'll be back in 1 minute. All right, I want to mention that there is one way you can fight back against this system, and that is by growing your own food. And as you know, I'm a big advocate of this. I'm into aquaponics. I'm into farming. I'm into self-reliance and, of course, you know, preparedness, just basic preparedness. the Boy Scout motto before things turned recently. So the Survival Seed Vault by My Patriot Supply is available at InfoWarsStore.com, and I want to encourage you to check that out. It's a collection of 100% non-GMO, open-pollinated seeds, and I've got tons of seeds as part of not just to grow food, but also to barter with people, because people are going to need seeds. So I think of seeds as a kind of currency, actually. So help support the show here, and check that out at InfoWarsStore.com. And by the way, just in case you're curious, I don't have any financial interest in actually anything that I've promoted here, the Pro Pure water filters or the seeds. I'm just helping to support the broadcast, which is why I'm also in here guest hosting. Now, John Rappoport has also been a guest host here before. Lots of us are pulling for the truth. We are helping to promote alternative media, because this is the only media where you're going to get the truth. I mean, think about the march against Monsanto all across the country. The mainstream media pretended the march never happened. Can you believe that? So we're telling you the truth as best we see it. So John Rappoport continues with us here for the next few minutes. John, what would you like people to remember most from your interview today? What are the take-home points from this NSA spy grid exploding in our faces?
People who thought, that it was only telephones. Yes, they're spying on phone calls. We knew all about that. And maybe they're able to track things on the internet and so forth. But now we're talking about a colossus made up of these huge tech companies. Google and AOL and, all the way down the line, Microsoft, Apple, et cetera, all the way. And NSA working together as one monster, deciding what to do about what they know about you, and they're collecting everything in their capability of collecting it. And that's not only illegal, it's not only criminal, it's not only like a gigantic crime family, which it is, but it's all about freedom. And that's the thing to never give up on, to understand what your freedom means, what it is, and to resist any and all efforts to take it away from you.
And from a tactical standpoint, it's very tricky to not allow the NSA to spy on you, because they're into everything now. All these tech giants have backdoors directly into the government. They're copying and data mining everything, your text, your voicemails, your Skype messages, your Facebook posts. How do you do that and still stay connected to our online world? I mean, what do? Go out and buy a Linux system and run Linux everything? A lot of people don't have the technical knowledge to do that.
I certainly don't. All I can say, Mike, is that for a number of years now, there have been who knows how many thousands or even millions of people on the internet who decided they don't care. They just don't care. Yeah, okay, they're spying on me. Sure, all right, so they know what I'm writing, or they know what I'm reading. Does that mean that I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing? No, it means that I'm going to do more of what I've already been doing. That's the point. You do more of the good things, and you just barrel straight ahead. Yes, I'm sure there are things you can do to, avoid the maximum possible amount of spying on you. But, you're out there, so just be out there and do it. And don't worry about, I have to pull back. That's what they want you to do. They want you to go silent. Don't go silent.
Yeah, they want to censor and intimidate, that's for sure. Well, that was John Rappoport, everybody, from NoMoreFakeNews.com. Thank you for joining us on the show today, John.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Always good to have you on. Stay with us. We've got Representative Steve Stockman, Congressman from Texas, coming up in the next few minutes right here on The Alex Jones Show. All right, welcome back to The Alex Jones Show, the third hour here. This is Mike Adams, the health ranger, filling in for Alex. He'll be back on the show tomorrow. And there's a huge backlash now forming against the NSA spy grid disclosures. Most people aren't happy to know that their private emails and phone calls are all being surveilled. I mean, their passwords, their files, their photos, you name it. It's Big Brother galore. It's Orwellian to the extreme. I mean, Orwell couldn't even have imagined this. It's unbelievable. Now, some of the comments that have been passed around the internet over the weekend about this are quite funny. even though this is a tragedy against the Fourth Amendment and the Bill of Rights, but there's a lot of comedy out there. And in fact, some of the best comedy came from Texas Representative Steve Stockman, who was tweeting over the weekend some really fantastic tweets. I'll share a couple of them with you, and then he joins us on the show. He said, quote, "Someone should tell Obama 1984 wasn't intended to be an instruction manual." And he said, this is my favorite one, "At this point, the only way to prevent people from hearing your conversations is to have them on MSNBC. Yeah, I'm sure they will appreciate that one, but it's funny. So joining us now from Texas District number 36, I believe, is Representative Steve Stockman. Mr. Stockman, welcome to the show.
Thanks. One of the things we try to do is always have fun. And making fun of liberals, you can't have any more fun than that.
I know you have to laugh at this because it's so insane. What were your initial thoughts when you became aware of these astonishing disclosures?
Well, I mean, it follows with Obama's intent to focus on the citizens as the criminal, and the terrorists are not to be investigated. You had the Russians send us a whole profile of what was potential terrorists, and instead of, and also he subscribed to a terrorist magazine, and he subscribed and posted terrorist websites, but that didn't rise to the level of interest. But the Tea Party and average citizens have become the target. It's alarming. We do live in an Orwellian world where good is bad and bad is good, and
it also
now targeted American citizens over that of terrorists.
It's extraordinary how this apparatus has now been turned against the people, and I think you would agree with me on this, that this is being done outside of the permission of Congress. I mean, Congress has been lied to by the NSA about this. Would you agree with that characterization, or what are your thoughts?
Well, there was an actual questioning in which they showed the clip of it, where they're asking the head of NSA if there was a collection. I think it was the congressman, it may have been Weidman, who asked a direct question, are you collecting massive amounts of data on each citizen? And the retort back from him was, no, we're not. So, yeah, if they claim now that that was I think Dianne Feinstein said that it was just a misunderstanding of the question. Which,
really?
It can be.
Well, I guess we could always say it's a misunderstanding. But what about the idea that this NSA system, it's almost omniscient? I mean, they can keep tabs on anybody, including federal judges, including people like you, including your colleagues in the House, including senators. No one is safe from this. Do you see the potential for massive abuse on this?
There is massive abuse already. I mean, it's alarming. If you think about it, these are the same guys now that want to register your guns, and they can't keep this kind of data private, yet they're claiming they can keep it private. If you register your guns, they're not going to let the data out. But clearly we have a situation which they don't have control over the information. It's just, it is Orwellian, it's alarming, and what I don't understand is why the American people aren't getting upset. It seems like no matter what Obama does, he says he has to read about what he's doing in the paper, as if he's detached from it.
Yeah, Obama's going to be really angry when he finds out what the president did.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, man, that's terrible. But yeah, are you starting to get calls or feedback from your constituents? What's the word? I mean, I know it's only Monday, and this is going to take a while to sink in. But what's the word from your staff so far on any kind of anger, outburst about this?
Well, we're getting calls. We're just not. What I don't understand from my office. And by the way, we appreciate those that call us and support us. And because, as you know, we're up against the big media and others that are in the mainstream. So when they call, we appreciate it. But what I understand is people outside of your listeners, you interview them or talk to them, it's puzzling to me at what degree they're willing to give up their individual freedoms for the perception of security. And we both know that you give up your individual liberties, you soon have neither. Exactly.
Right. Now, your tweets are also really part of a pattern of liberty that comes out of Texas, it seems like more than any other states. I mean, Texas is where Ron Paul came from, and then, Rand Paul in Kentucky now, but of course from Texas, and you're here in Texas. There are many other liberty lovers in Texas. Is Texas really sort of the headquarters of liberty for America now?
Well, it's becoming the last bastion, apparently. New Hampshire used to be that way, but it seems like everybody from Massachusetts moved there, and they loved the freedom in New Hampshire. They immediately voted in people that hated freedom, so it's kind of odd. But, we're in my district alone, we've had, since my election in November, we've had 30,000 new people come in here because of the ability to get jobs and to operate without as much government. There's still too much government intrusion, but at least in Texas we have, and as you know, I guess you're in Austin, but we have less intrusion, although the Obama administration came down here to praise the jobs, but immediately is implementing more restrictions on those companies that are trying to create jobs. So,
right, that was funny. I think when Obama comes to Texas, he should stop talking and start listening, because Texas has got the economy figured out. It's got liberty figured out, at least a lot better than the feds.
I was laughing at a lady on NPR the other day. She was commenting, she's saying, these extreme right states such as Texas have unfortunately got lucky, and their economy is doing better. So
well, if you're listening,
it had nothing to do with the extreme, quote unquote, extreme right policies, but it had to do with luck.
But see, that's just a language trick. To call freedom, to call liberty, to call the Constitution extreme, that's a classic liberal leftist trick that they play on NPR as they're trying to hypnotize you, by the way. Thank you for listening to NPR.
By the way, doing it with your tax dollars.
Well, of course, yeah, of course. We have to subsidize everything that's evil from the federal government.
I'm amazing that the people are shocked that government radio would want more government.
Exactly. So about your tweets, though, these are so funny. They're really funny and insightful. How do you come up with these tweets like this one? The Democrats defending IRS abuses and illegal spying programs are the same one who insists they would never abuse a gun registry database.
Yeah, well, I think it's, our friends at that do the cartoon, I just went blank. What's the one that they did? They attack liberals, and they asked, I said, why do you attack liberals instead of conservatives? They said, well, conservatives are used to being attacked, but if you make fun of a liberal, they just go nuts. And we created a bumper sticker, which we've actually had during the campaign. It said, if babies had guns, they wouldn't be aborted. And that just drove them nuts. So anything we can do to strike the humor, and really their positions are quite humorous. If you look at their ideology, it's easy to make fun of.
Well, it is funny. We ran a story at Natural News, my website, last week about Pink Pistols. It's a nonprofit group that teaches gays and lesbians how to shoot for self-defense. And the story just confused people. They didn't know what to attack. It was like, some of the people were like, I'm against guns, but I support gays. I can't attack the story. It's like no one could attack the story because it was crossing those two issues together in a way that doesn't normally happen. People went ballistic.
We did that with rape victims, and the Huffington Post went off on us saying, how can you say that? That's just quite easy. We want rape victims to have guns.
Yeah, exactly. But then maybe they won't get raped.
Yeah, actually, we want all women to have guns. And somebody said, well, women don't know how to shoot guns. I said, well, in Texas, our women do. They'll teach them.
Oh, heck, at the ranges I've seen, women are very competent with guns and rifles and shotguns as well. Let me read another one of your tweets. Obama is collecting private information on every American, but says it's wrong to make someone show an ID to vote. So true.
There was another one we talked about, which was kind of funny. It said, honest to God, I really did call. Just ask Obama.
Exactly.
Or the other one, I don't know if you remember, or of course you're aware of this, but the head of the IRS was in the White House more than anybody else. Of course, Obama and them never talked about this during the campaign, I'm sure. But he was in the White House 157 times. And, of course, Obama had to read the paper about him showing up 157 times. And we were talking, laughing that, He didn't know that this guy was in the White House 157 times, but he knows that you ordered Domino's.
Exactly. It's so true. He seems to have no clue what's going on right around him, but then the government's keeping tabs on all the details of your private life. But any final thoughts? We're about to wrap this up, Congressman. Any final thoughts to leave us with here?
Well, like I said, I appreciate people that follow us, and as you know, we're giving away AR-15, which is also driving people nuts. And if you go on our website, you can pick up register for a free AR-15.
Well, that's fantastic. Just make sure you give away enough ammo because people can't find that 223 these days. So
that's the next thing we're going to do.
Yeah, give them a couple of 30-round clips and say, "Welcome to Texas."
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Congressman Stockman. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks so much. You have a great day, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
All right, you too. This is the Alex Jones Show. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. A lot more straight ahead. All right, we're going to return to phone calls here in just a minute on the Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams filling in for Alex today. Thank you for all your very insightful phone calls today so far. And the number to call in, if you'd like to call in, is 1-800-259-9231. Again, 800-259-9231. And I got to say, what I am really struck by in all of this is just how insane the media is to say, don't listen to Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones has been right on so many things for so long, and he's been called a conspiracy theorist for so long on all the things that are now coming out and verified as true, that, frankly, the mainstream media owes Alex Jones a massive apology. A massive apology. So all of the reporters out there in the mainstream media who have made fun of Alex, and they called him a conspiracy theory, and they called him a kook, or, whatever terms they use that are derogatory, they need to apologize now. It's all coming out. The NSA spy grid is coming out. We are under assault. We are being spied on by our own government. And the media needs to stop with the nonsense. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they don't even have, they should have like a Broadway special called "Don't Listen to Alex Jones." It would go something like, "Don't listen to Alex Jones. Don't listen to Alex Jones. No one is tapping your phones. No one is searching your homes." Like in Boston. "Don't listen to Alex Jones. Don't listen to Alex Jones. Fluoride is good for your bones. There are no government drones. Just listen to NPR, because they never go too far. Just listen to MSNBC and give them an audience of 3. Don't listen, don't listen, don't listen, don't listen, don't listen to Alex Jones. Don't listen, don't listen, don't listen, don't listen, because he's always right." Yeah, I've had way too much chocolate today. Sorry about that. That's my singing debut on the Alex Jones Show. You'll probably never see me again. Because, no more of that. Get the health ranger, get him off of there. Oh, my God, he's turning the show into opera. Something's gone wrong. Get Alex back here. Thank God he's on an airplane right now, or he'd be calling in right this minute. All right, let's go to calls. Scott in Idaho. Scott, you're on the air with apparently an insane health ranger. Go ahead, Scott.
I think you have a fine voice, Michael.
Well, thank you.
I believe it was Benjamin Franklin that told us that a nation of well-informed men who have been taught to know and prize the rights which God has given them cannot be enslaved. It is in the region of ignorance that tyranny begins. I've had a website since about 1995 where I've taught people exactly what their rights are and what are the meanings of some of the words that we throw around so carelessly, like liberty, freedom, and justice. I've spent probably the last 20 years trying to define these words for myself.
Excellent. Go ahead. Plug the website. What's the site?
The website, you can find it on Google, or start page, just type in Jailhouse Lawyer and the word Angel Fire. I'm the Jailhouse Lawyer, and I'm on the Angel Fire domain. I've got a legal research engine there where people can do their own legal research, be their own lawyer. Many people aren't aware that at the turn of the century, most people were either their own lawyer or they got somebody that could talk for them in court. That was before the American Bar Association got a monopoly on who can practice law in the courts.
Good point, Scott. But let me ask you about the word freedom, because freedom is always abused. Obama says freedom is being spied on. That's freedom. Can you talk for a minute about the abuse of the word freedom?
Sure. Freedom, like other rights that were granted to us, not by the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, were granted to us by God previous to government, and those are the rights that we need to learn and cherish, because rights are property. When they steal your rights, they're stealing your property. This is the mindset that our founding fathers had, that rights are property. But the Supreme Court of the United States has told us in one of its nefarious decisions that any rights not timely demanded in the courts are deemed to be waived.
Right.
So what I tell people is, if you're not in court demanding your rights, you're waiving your rights, and if you don't know what your rights are, you don't have any.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Exactly, because people walk in, and they don't realize they're walking into a trap, a legal trap. So I appreciate your call, and I hope people check out your website there on Angel Fire. And we'll be back with more phone calls, 800-259-9231. We'll be right back in with more of your calls. Don't listen to Alex Jones. Don't listen to Alex Jones. No one is tapping your phones. No one is searching your homes. No way. Don't listen to Alex Jones. All right, there are a bunch of petitions that you need to be aware of. One petition seeks a White House pardon for the whistleblower, Edward Snowden. So search for that on Start page, of course. Petition seeks White House pardon for Snowden. So far, well, the petition says, let me just read this. If you believe in NSA surveillance, we challenge you to a live public debate with Edward Snowden. That would be funny. Let's have the constitutional scholar Obama debating the NSA senior intelligence analyst whistleblower Snowden. Man, I'd pay money to see that. To get a front row seat for that, I'd pay good money. So far, we don't have very many signatures because it was just launched. So add some signatures. We need 100,000, and then the White House will respond to that. Also, wait a minute. I think there's 20,000. I'm mixing up. There's several petitions. All right, so there are 20,000 signatures on the petition to pardon Snowden, 21,000. And then another petition is to have Obama debate Edward Snowden. And then finally, we've also got the InfoWars petition, demand that Obama resign. And how many signatures do we have on that petition, guys, so far? You can find that at Infowars.com, or just search for the White House petition to demand that Obama resign. Save us the trouble of going through an impeachment process is the description. And that's a story by Paul Joseph Watson. That's got 13,000 signatures so far, and I'm sure it's rising quickly because that's also a very new petition. Sign these petitions. It's one way that you can make an impact on all of this. Now, we're going to go, before we go back to your phone calls, and thank you for holding, Ship, Linda, Mike, Tom, and others. We're going to go to a video from Fox News featuring Judge Napolitano and his comments on why the Fourth Amendment actually matters. Let's take a look at that.
First, though, let's take this new matter to the judge. Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Harry Reid says, we should just calm down, Judge. This has been going on a long time. They've been able to stop some sort of terrorism, this, that, or the other thing. So just don't worry about it. Just relax, everybody.
See,
First, though, let's take this new matter to the judge. Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Harry Reid says, we should just calm down, Judge. This has been going on a long time. They've been able to stop some sort of terrorism, this, that, or the other thing. So just don't worry about it. Just relax, everybody.
See, the laws are really screwy here, Shep. The laws allow the executive branch, the president and his agents, to tell select members of Congress when they are doing things like that, but prohibits those members of Congress from telling the other members of Congress or the American people. Just because Harry Reid knew about this for 7 years and it's been going on for 7 years does not mean that it is constitutionally permissible. This is a fishing expedition on the grandest scale we've ever seen in American history. They are looking for a select group of people, and in order to find that select group of people, the Constitution says, present some evidence against them to a judge and you'll get a search warrant for their phones. Rather than doing that, they got a search warrant for 113 million phones.
That we know of.
That we know of. And they said to us, you know, don't worry.
It's fine.
Trust us. We're not listening to the calls. We're just keeping records of them. Who would trust them after this? The Constitution doesn't trust them. As Catherine Harris just pointed out, they lied under oath, this administration, when they were asked under
so
oath,
true.
Are you collecting information about American citizens?
Good job, Judge.
Admiral Clapper,
Yeah,
who's the head of all of this,
that's the point, is who would trust the NSA at this point? How can you ever trust them? And also, how can you ever trust these technology companies? They lied to you, okay? Google, Facebook, AOL, Apple, they lied to you when they said that there are no backdoors. We've seen the PRISM slide. There is a backdoor, direct server access to all these tech companies. They've been lying to their users for years. We've got the timeline. We know what year they started the connection. Where does it end? Probably never ends unless we somehow stand up to it. And if we don't, they're going to end up reading our thoughts, okay, and throwing us in jail for thought crimes. And you know, all of us here at InfoWars are, of course, guilty of thought crimes because we actually can think. So that right there makes you a threat, a terrorist for having skeptical thoughts about the fake news that we're all being told by the mainstream media. Let's go to some more calls because we're getting such great calls today. Let's see if we can get a crazy call here at some point. But let's go to Ship in San Antonio. Doesn't sound crazy. Ship, you're on the air. Are you crazy or do you love to be spied on? What's the deal?
Oh, man, I hate being spied on, dude. And it seems like they just more and more spy on us.
Yeah, that's their goal. That's their system. And and you're paying for it, Ship. Your tax dollars are paying for you to be spied on. How do you like that?
It's pretty typical. I mean, that just goes along with the whole agenda that they push on us every day.
Well, what do you think we should do about it? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's cool. I live here in San Antonio, you know, and I have a bunch of friends that are, you know, ex-military and a bunch of the alphabet gangs and stuff. And they have, you know, kind of given me info here and there. And basically there are, you know, hubs here in San Antonio that are spy stations, dude. Like, they listen to your calls. They do everything. It's a data mining center.
Yeah.
And there's not just one. There's quite a bit. Like, the one I know for sure is an old Kmart. That's to the magnitude of how big it is.
The blue light special surveillance grid.
No kidding, right?
Yeah. So what do your friends say they want to do about it? Are they just going to sit back and let the NSA roll over them, or what?
Well, it's not like, I mean, I'm one of a few. You know, my brother-in-law is really big into it, like, feels the same way I do. But, you know, it's kind of hard to push, and not push, just like open the ears to people that, you know, don't want to hear it. You know, you kind of gradually ease them into it.
Like,
some people
at first you tell them their emails are being read, and
you
then...
know, and it's frustrating because you want somebody to be like, you know, takes the bull by the horns, you know, and they are just so naive and weak to say, you know, well, whatever, this is the way it is. And I'm like, dude, you can't be like that, man. You've got to really get out there and say, you know what, enough is enough, dude. And they're like, well, where do I start? What do I do? I'm
well,
like,
no, Ship. They trust the Obama government. They trust Obama. See, they wouldn't trust a Republican with these powers. No, because that would be bad. And I agree, that is bad. But they trust a Democrat with it because Democrats never do anything evil. Get that straight.
And it's the naivety and this, it can't happen to us, this exceptionalism. Like, you know, that, oh, you know, it won't happen to us here, which is a crock, and it's a shame that people don't see that, you know, it can happen anywhere. It's not just saying, oh, this could happen somewhere else or a foreign country. Like, why are we so exempt? Why are we so special? We are not. We are humans and people just as everywhere else. And
well, in fact, it's so bad that the whistleblower fled to China to tell the truth about America. I mean, it's like fleeing to North Korea and saying, Kim Jong-un, you know, give me freedom. I know. That's how bad it's gotten in America.
It's just crazy. And it's like, where do we cross that line to say, you know what, enough is enough? Like Adam Kotesh and stuff, I was totally for that, but at the same time, it's like, man, that's a thin blue line to where you got to say, man, what could they stage something like that, even though a peaceful protest should be that of the people. And it's like we have gotten so far away from our forefathers that they are rolling in their graves.
Well, it's clear like, this is never going to be stopped by a bunch of peaceful protests. I mean, I'm not calling for violence, but peaceful protests are going to go nowhere because they're just going to keep lying to us, basically.
Exactly. And it's like, if a peaceful protest isn't enough, and these little, tidbits of information we're getting that aren't awakening everybody, it's like, what is? What will wake you up, people?
It's going to have to be like a mass roundup of people, throwing them into the incinerators, and then, maybe some people wake up. But great call, Ship. I really appreciate you calling in. Good conversation there. Let's go to Mike in Chicago. Mike, you've got comments about false flags. That's what the notes say.
Yeah. I was just kind of looking at some of the stuff going on in California, and it kind of seems kind of odd how some of these people get away with walking around with what they say that they're carrying. Somebody with a vest with multiple clips and shotguns and assault rifles. How did this guy walk around and not get caught by anybody?
You're talking about the shooting.
Yeah. How did nobody take this guy down?
Well, I know, since people get the police called on when they're carrying an umbrella or a water gun or a Pop-Tart.
Absolutely. I live in an association, which I think they're like Nazis,
right.
Where I live.
Homeowner Nazis.
And I was I was burning one day some leaves. Next thing I know, I have 4 police officers at my house for burning leaves.
Yeah, well, that's an act of terrorism against the environment there, bud.
I'm telling you. And, I wanted to tell a quick story. I'm in my mid-30s, and when I was about 8 years old, my dad took me to Army Surplus for my birthday.
Ooh, that must have been fun. It's like a kid in a candy store.
Everything's fun, but well, I got like boots and a little backpack, and then they had like little training grenades, and they had holes in the bottom. Well, I actually brought it to school because we used to play war.
Yeah.
And I threw it like into like a crowd of kids were playing, and I knew it was fake then, Well, the next thing I know, I'm in the office, and all that happened at that time was I went to a Catholic school. All that happened at that time was my dad got called, my mom got called. My dad whooped my butt. But now, if you did that, even if it was fake, you'd be thrown in jail, and they'd throw the jail away.
Oh,
They'd
yeah.
never hear from you again.
No, they would arrest the parents, take the kids. Yeah, I mean, gee, how dare you have a fake, hand grenade.
Unbelievable. I was 8 years old. I knew it was fake, but it was, when you're a kid like that, it was fun playing war and stuff.
Well,
but nowadays, if you did that.
What if you had a toy tank? A toy tank, it might be a real one. They could.
Absolutely.
How dare you bring a tank to school?
Absolutely. And, I just wanted to say, that the times have changed so much now, and I'm in my early 30s, and I'm looking at going, wow. I feel like I'm turning into an old man because just stuff is changing so fast, and the way kids are growing up and being, sheepled into the way they got to learn and the way they got to think and the things they can and can't do. And you can't have a garden, you can't have this, you can't have that anymore. And it's just America is not America anymore.
Well, you're right, Mike. And now these kids are growing up under the regime of the NSA. So as these kids grow up, everything is being monitored. Can you imagine when those kids grow up and become, let's say, congressmen or senators, all the stuff they did as kids being used against them by the NSA? I mean, imagine that. I mean, come on, we were all, 18 once. Think of the stuff you did when you were 18. Well, imagine if that was all on the record. Come on.
No. So.
Yeah, well, good.
Well, thank you for your time. I just wanted to get that out, and I love the show, and you guys are doing an awesome job. Keep it going.
Well, good call, Mike. Thank you for your comments. Really appreciate the callers today. Let's go to another caller, Josh in Utah. Josh, you're live on national radio. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Mike. I think you're doing an awesome job, and I would love to see you have your own show if you choose.
Hey, thank you, sir. Well, I've offered Alex to do a weekly health show, like a health exposed type of show. So as soon as his new studio is ready, maybe we'll do that. I'd love to do it.
That would be great. Also, I thought this year's Bilderberg coverage was outstanding. it was great to see they actually admit that they exist. Now the next step is to actually have them admit that what they're actually talking about.
Oh, you mean, are you talking about that conference that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Well, you notice I didn't talk about it today because I don't talk about things that don't exist. How dare you call about the B, the B thing, you know, because letters of the alphabet are thought crimes. You have to talk about something other than B. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, tell me what you want me to talk about.
Well, we have to talk about the Bilderberg conference is my point. Bilderberg.
Okay. Oh, Bilderberg, okay.
And the Bilderbergers.
It was just it was a great conference. I thought a lot of things got out there, and a lot of things came out, and I'm just happy things are progressing in the right direction.
Well, isn't it interesting, though, Josh, that 5 years ago the media pretended that Alex Jones was delusional when he was reporting about the Bilderbergers, and now they say, oh, it's all real, but it doesn't matter. It's just a bunch of people meeting about nothing really important.
Yeah, they're just talking about you know, how to improve their businesses. They're doing such a good job.
Yeah. So it's like a country club. They're just shooting pool, ordering chicken fried steak, and having some tea. That's the Bilderberg conference. Well, thank you for your call, Josh. Some good points. Let's go to Dave in Michigan with maybe comments on the NSA. Dave, you're on the air.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say I think Alex did a great job in England, and I've really learned a lot from you over the years sitting in for Alex. And
Thank you.
To the last caller about you having your old show, and I'm just telling you, I'm walking over the window, I'm opening my window, I'm sticking my head out the window, and I'm saying, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to tell you anymore!
Yeah, man, say it. I love it. I love your energy.
People are off the charts, the news, the media, the government, everybody. It's in the neighbors, and people are so asleep at the wheel. It's pathetic. You can't wake anybody up. We've been on longevity for 2 years. That stuff is great. I'm legally blind, and I moved from the city to the country on 10 acres because of Alex Jones. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'm telling you, he is the best we got. And, you're right up there with him. And I love what you're teaching us about, our bodies and the environment and, just being the health ranger. And,
well, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. I love your energy and your passion, and you're right. None of us are perfect, but we're the best we got. And it's not about any person. It's not about Alex or me or Salenti or anybody. It's not about any people. It's about how we, the people, are standing up against this tyranny and exposing the tyranny and telling the truth, even in the face of just incredible lies and deceptions by the mainstream media. And we won't shut up, and we won't put up with it, and we won't sit down and behave. We're going to keep speaking out and fighting back against these injustices. We're going to keep doing it right here from Infowars.com and all of the alternative media, which is the new mainstream media. So you're right on. I love your passion, and we're with you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your call, Dave. Let's go to Mark in Philadelphia. Go ahead, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Health Ranger.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good today. I'm having a little too much fun, I've been told.
I've got a quick list of items I'd love to hit you with real quick.
All right, go for it.
First off, not only does this snooping stifle and eviscerate the Fourth Amendment, but it clearly stifles the First Amendment because you have people of all kinds, of all their different types of digital communications where they're going to feel like they can't say anything, as if they probably shouldn't have already, moving forward because, both personal and otherwise, it's going to be recorded to be used against them as blackmail a la J. Edgar Hoover for the next decade.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, number one. Secondly, I have not heard anyone talk about the fact that this massive amount of business espionage that's going to be going on here where, we're talking about Iran-Contra on steroids.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Mark, we got to go to break. Stay on the phone, though. We'll come right back to you after this break and continue with your points, okay? It's a great call. Stay with us. This is the Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back after this break with more insanity. You never know. You never know what you're going to find behind the desk here at the Alex Jones headquarters in InfoWars studio. Today, I walk in, and there's the infidel body armor just sitting here Oh my God, it's heavy too. And I was joking with the guys that we should have a new brand called Infidel Castro body armor that only stops communist bullets. They thought that's not even funny. Gone too far. Infidel armor. They're a sponsor of the show now, right? That's why this armor is here. Or is this Alex's plan? This is his escape plan. He's going to come back, say something, interview Ed Snowden, and then slap on the body armor and head out of here. No, I'm sorry. Let's go to calls. Nick in California, you're on the air. Nick, crazy subjects. What's on your mind, Nick?
There are magnetic strips on the road that detect cars just for get flowing. Well, the status quo is a collective of information being sold for personal gain and the use of it for manipulation.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is if they you're getting your blood and urine samples just for environmental aspects. The chemtrails are going stealth.
Wait a
they
minute.
Get your grocery cards. They know what you're buying, and maybe they'll get somebody into that company. And I'm afraid to buy bottled water anyway. I have to because.
Wait a minute. I just want to clarify. So you're saying, I mean, they are swabbing your DNA at police stops and checkpoints now, and they are monitoring your grocery purchases with your loyalty cards. You're right.
And I've had my my urine test just taken, and a week later there was a door slam, and I thought I was smelling something, and things went wrong with me for a while.
What?
I mean, that's a possibility. That's a reality today. All these chemicals and concentrations that can be used.
Well, I don't quite track everything you're saying, but I think you're onto something.
A criminal is a biological corrupt, and if you're in a holy place like the land of Jesus, and they pour something in your
okay, man,
they can run stealth.
I'm curious what's in your urine test. Let's go to the next caller, Mike in Wyoming. Sorry, it's just helps to have your thoughts organized. Mike, you're in Wyoming. You're on the air. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi, Mike. I was watching Fox News as I was getting ready for work this morning, and I heard Congressman Kevin McCarthy say some pretty nasty things about the whistleblower,
Snowden.
The younger Snowden. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who went off to Hong Kong, and then Stephen King was quoted also as saying that no country should give sanctuary to these guys. And I would encourage people to call their offices. That is McCarthy and King.
Peter King?
And Peter King, thank you. And
it is a horror novel that we are reading, though, by the way.
Yeah. A former IRA terrorist, gun runner. This man should know terrorism when he sees it. But call their offices and encourage them to impeach Obama rather than trying to discourage whistleblowers. And one other thing, you were talking about the NSA and how health information is not going to be safe anymore. The AIG, the American Insurance Group, which controlled the majority of medical insurance in this country until it was bought out basically by the government. I mean, they were run by Morris Greenberg, who was closely attached to the CIA. So I have no doubt that the CIA had access to medical records for many years during Greenberg's tenure there.
Well, it's pretty clear that we are now living under a spyocracy, maybe combined with an idiocracy, but definitely a spyocracy component. Well, anyway, I thank you for your call. That's our last caller. That's our show for today. Thank you for listening or watching on PrisonPlanet.tv. Check more news at Infowars.com. Thank you to the crew today. You did a great job. Awesome show. I enjoyed the calls and the production values. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Naturalnews.com is my website, and this is Infowars.com. Alex is back tomorrow. I don't know when I'm back, but he'll let me know. Talk to you later.
It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal.
All right, good morning on this Monday, June 10th, 2013. Yes, the NSA spy scandal, it's all true. They are listening to your phone calls. They are reading your emails. They are getting your logins, your passwords, your text chats, your files, everything you store in the online cloud is being scanned. It's all true. All the denials are complete lies. They've all been caught. The tech companies caught in their lies by the slides of the PRISM program released now by Edward Snowden, who has just stepped forward yesterday to claim responsibility for leaking these slides to The Guardian and The Washington Post. And this is the subject of our show today. We're going to have 3 guests on today. This is the Alex Jones Show. We're going to have Jim Mars joining in with some historical analysis and context of this outrageous spy program. We're also going to have John Rappoport on in the second hour. He's going to be joining us to give us some more information about Snowden himself and the nature of the spy program and what else they might be watching and listening to that hasn't yet been reported. And in the third hour, we've got Texas Representative Steve Stockman on. He has been outraged by these confirmed reports of the NSA spying program, and he's been putting out some hilarious tweets calling out the Obama administration, which, if you recall, promised in 2007 that it was going to be the administration of transparency. Yeah, we weren't going to have government secrets anymore. The government was going to answer to the people. Well, guess what? That was all a big lie, too. It's just lies within lies within lies. Now, if you're not familiar with this subject yet, let me just break it down for you very quickly. Ed Snowden, a 29-year-old senior intelligence analyst, a computer, you might call him a geek, but a genius geek who worked for the CIA, and then he worked for a contractor that was providing services to the NSA. He leaked details of the program to The Guardian and did an interview with Glenn Greenwald, an actual journalist. Yes, they still exist, and he's one of them, apparently. And The Guardian published this, and so did The Washington Post over the last few days. And then yesterday, a video was distributed by The Guardian that is an interview between Glenn Greenwald and Ed Snowden, the whistleblower, that gave all the details. Fascinating, amazing details. Check out these quotes of what you heard in the video, which describes, quote, turnkey tyranny. He says, quote, we collect more digital communications from America than we do from the Russians. He says, any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector, anywhere. I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president. These are the words of Edward Snowden, the whistleblower who is now hiding out in Hong Kong and knows that they're going to try to kill him. He is reportedly seeking asylum in Iceland, and we do have some breaking news for you on that coming up right after this break, where Iceland appears to be welcoming him to seek political asylum there. There's an article about that on Infowars.com right now by Kurt Nimmo, so check that out. But that's the focus of today's show, everything about the NSA spy grid. We're going to break it down for you of what they're scanning, what they're snooping into. And speaking of Snoop, we got to get to some of Leno's quotes about the Obama administration. He says, yeah, Snoop is back in the news, not Snoop Dogg, Snoop Obama. Leno's had some good lines lately. He said, hey, forget about Big Brother watching you. Now we actually have a brother watching you. That's Leno's quote. Some very funny but poignant comedy from Leno on that. We've got other quotes coming up. Great guests straight ahead, plus more analysis and breakdown of this exploding spy scandal from the NSA that exposes the lies and the deceptions of big government. This is the Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back with all that and much more, so stay out. We're not even going to cover that today because we're so focused on last week's scandals and the weekend scandals and the NSA spying scandal. Another day, another scandal. It's the IRS, it's the Department of Justice, it's the EPA, it's the NSA. It's like another day, another piece of the alphabet gets exposed as being total criminal, lying, corrupt outfit. It's unbelievable. Here are some things that you need to know, and then we're going to go to your phone calls, which are already coming in. We're going to go to you just in a minute there, Taylor and Houston and others. The big lies. Here are the big lies about all this that you need to know. Number one, the government claimed it wasn't listening to your phone calls. Those are Obama's words. We're not listening to your phone calls, or he said no one is listening to your phone calls. They are listening to your phone calls. They're recording all of your phone calls. They're parsing them with actual recognition software that can listen to the words and create a text transcript and then data mine the text transcript. That's what they're doing. The second big lie, the tech companies came out. Apple, Google, Microsoft, Yahoo Mail, AOL, Skype, and others. They all came out and said, no, the government doesn't have direct access to our servers. That's not true. That's a big lie. Well, they're parsing words. They're using lawyer speak. It turns out, even if the government didn't have direct access to the servers, they have side door access. Maybe not back door, but side door access. All those companies push the data over to out a side door, and then the government picks it up from there. But then, Sunday, another top secret slide was released by The Guardian, which showed directly that, in fact, the government has direct server access. It's right there in the slide. It says we have direct server access to Google, Apple, Yahoo, and others. They have it. It's there. It's confirmed from the slide. So these companies are required by law to lie to you. All these tech companies, they have to lie to you or they will go to jail because that's part of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. If they don't lie, they go to jail. So, of course, they're lying to you. Everybody is lying to you, okay? Obama has been lying to you. Feinstein and the Intelligence Committee lying to you. The tech companies lying to you while they read your emails. And the NSA lying to you. They're all lying to you. And by now, more and more people are finally waking up and figuring that out. And finally, the last big lie before we go to the phone calls, Obama has been with us. A lot straight ahead. All right, welcome back. This is the Alex Jones Show on Monday, June 10th, 2013. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex, who is traveling right now. He's actually on an airplane, arriving in a few hours here in the United States, back from the Bilderberg Conference in the UK. Lots of excitement there. Of course, lots of coverage of that over the past few days and all of last week here at InfoWars Studios. But now we're covering the NSA spy scandal, the explosive revelations that have been emerging now throughout even the mainstream media, The Guardian, The Washington Post, and now hundreds, if not thousands, of mainstream media sources covering this explosive news, which revealed the top secret slides, the slideshow that revealed the government is spying on everything you do, your phone calls, your emails, your login passwords, your online storage files, your photos, your social media networking posts. Everything is being spied on routinely, wholesale copied, archived, data mined, relationally looked at. I don't know the right word for it. The intelligence community is basically looking at your data every way they can to get as much information out of it so that they can nail you. They can nail you for things that are otherwise innocent. And I want to get your comments on this because there's a lot of outrage out there. I want to get callers today. I haven't had many callers in the last couple of times that I've hosted. So call in, 800-259-9231. We'd like to get you on the show to hear your comments. We're going to move quickly between calls, so have a short comment ready, please. 800-259-9231. And we'll start taking your calls here in just a few minutes. Also coming up today on the show, we've got great guests lined up for you. Author and researcher Jim Marrs will be joining us at the bottom of this hour. And in the next hour, we've got John Rappoport with additional analysis of just how damaging this is to the international surveillance spy community. Well, damaging them, but freedom for us, because you see, it's exposing the lies and the hypocrisy of government, where Obama claimed it was all going to be fully transparent. We're not going to keep any secrets from you. We're going to be honest with you. We're going to work to protect your interests and your rights, blah, blah, blah. All lies, all coming out now. So many scandals. Another day, another scandal in the White House. In fact, there's even a scandal about the State Department that has broken today. It's up on drudgereport.com right now if you want to check that. Been defending all of this astoundingly because he's the guy who said we were going to have full transparency, and then all this happens under his watch, and he didn't shut it down. He didn't eliminate these programs. He carried on the Bush-era Patriot Act surveillance regime and made it worse. Obama is worse than Bush on spying on Americans. But he says, quote, I think we've struck the right balance. The right balance, Obama says. What balance is that, where the government spies on everything that we do, but if we go out and videotape a police officer on a public street, we go to jail and get prosecuted for wiretapping? But the government can wiretap us 24/7 in complete violation of the Fourth Amendment? Without even a warrant, without even any suspicion of you, they can track everything you do online? That's a balance? Obama, you're a sociopath. You're insane. That's not balance. Balance would be the government tracks only people that they know have a reason to be tracked. They get a warrant. They get a specific person. They get a name. This person, they say, might be a criminal, might be a terrorist. They get a warrant. I don't have any problem with that. That's perfectly okay with me. You get a warrant, you can track them. But to wholesale track everybody, even innocent people, and then call it a balance? Obama, you're insane. You're a sociopath, all right? That's absolute insanity. Let's go to the calls and get some other public opinion on this. Taylor from Houston, thank you for calling in. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, you know, Mike, they called us crazy. You know, it's such a flip-flop, you know, that now we're the ones that, you know, that are on the attack, and they're the ones that are on the defensive. And, you know, what just astounds me is the audacity of these people to look at somebody sitting right across them in a courtroom or, you know, in a transcripted, you know, meeting and sit there and pull out documents and show them, like, you know, here's the evidence. This is what you're doing. And they can just look right back at them and go, no, they're not.
Right. Total denial. And you're absolutely right. We, the alternative media, the info warriors, we have been right all along. Think about that. How far back has Alex been warning people about this exact scenario? He said the government's reading your emails, and they said he was crazy. Your thoughts?
That's exactly right. And I'm tired of being the one that's called crazy. If I was the one